Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, we are talking about UFC 300. I am incredibly excited about this card. This is a stacked card, one of the greatest all-time stacked cards to ever be. I'm going to go through all the fights and give you guys my picks. I'm not going to dissect every single fight because there's too many fights to dissect. However, I will give you guys my pick on each fight, and I'm going to talk more in depth about the bigger matchups, okay, the main events. There's too many main events. There's not one main event. There are many main events in this fight. This card is stacked. I am very, very excited about this fight. Guys, check out jujiclub.com. Use promo code LEVELUP50 off and get 50% off anything on jujiclub.com. Make sure to punch in that promo code, guys. If you forget to punch in the promo code, that's it. It's done. It's locked. Make sure to use it. It works. We know for a fact it works. Use that promo code. Get 50% off absolutely anything. Make sure to pick up A Man's Guide to Throwing a Punch. It is a phenomenal instructional. I added, for the guys who already have it, I added an extra hour of footage on how to hit the bag, etc. Great stuff. I'm going to be developing Man's Guide to Throwing a Punch even further. It's going to be your ultimate guide to boxing. Guys, with that said, I want to say first off, Eid Mubarak to everybody, okay? It's the end of Ramadan. We've been fasting 30 days. Eid Mubarak. Kul aam bikhair. I hope you guys had a fantastic Ramadan. May your fasting be accepted, inshallah. And what a beautiful experience it was. Today is the end of 30 days of fasting. This morning, I had my coffee this morning. I was super excited about having coffee and eating a little breakfast. Super, super exciting. I'm back to regular training. I was in the gym tonight. I'm finally back to regular training, eating and drinking. What a blessing. What an activity we take for granted. Eating, for those of you who don't know, in the Muslim month, in the month of Ramadan, Muslims stop eating and drinking throughout the day. From sunrise to sunset, we don't eat, we don't drink. 30 days in a row. It's quite a journey. It's quite something special. The entire community does it together. Those 30 days when they're up, it's like being reborn. It's really like being reborn. It's an excellent feeling. Today I went in the gym, hydrated, ate, wrestled. I felt incredible. And I want to congratulate everybody out there who was able to get through the 30 days. Not an easy thing to do, but an incredibly eye-opening perspective. Okay, guys, with that said, just give me a thumbs up here. It seems that I'm lagging here or whatnot because I'm not seeing any thumbs up here for my audio. I'm hoping my audio is perfect, guys. I'm going to continue. I think I got a little bit of lag here. I'm not sure what's going on. But thank you very much, Dana. Thank you for that thumbs up. Okay, guys, let's get started. What are my picks for this card? Well, let's go through this card. This card is incredible. Incredibly stacked, okay? I'm going to start off with the main card. Number one, Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Brundage, a severe underdog. I didn't look at the odds, but he's going up against Bo Nickel. Cody Brundage has had a few losses in UFC. Bo Nickel, nobody can get out of round one with this guy. He's an elite wrestler, a world-class wrestler, super strong boxing. He's been boxing for many, many years. Super explosive athlete, an elite wrestler. Taking on Cody Brundage, who's got some good wrestling. I think Cody Brundage, I'm not sure. I think he has a losing record in UFC. Let me look him up real quick here. He's had a few losses in UFC. He's been taken down. I mean, he's nowhere near the level of a Bo Nickel in wrestling. He's a good wrestler. He's got takedowns in UFC. I've seen him take people down in UFC, but he's 4-4. So he has a mixed record. Okay, he's 4-4 in UFC. That's a lot of UFC experience. Bo Nickel, just 5 fights in, of course, but he's an elite athlete. He's a wrestling expert. Everybody's picking Bo Nickel, okay? He's a severe underdog. If Cody Brundage can pull this one out, it would be one of the greatest upsets in UFC history. Combat history. The odds are stacked against Cody Brundage. Let's see what he can do. Guys, next up we have Charles Olivera versus Arman Tsarukyan. I'm picking Arman Tsarukyan. Guys, like I said, I'm not going to go through every single fight and dissect it. I think it's Arman's time. His striking has greatly improved. His physique seems to have greatly improved. He seems to have developed knockout power. He's going to get this fight to the ground. Olivera is going to go to his back willingly, I think. He's going to give maybe some resistance, but sooner or later, Olivera always finds a way to end up on his back. He's going to pull guard. He's going to slip and fall. He's going to get punched. He's going to get hit. One of his kicks caught. He always ends up on his back. Does he beat Tsarukyan off his back? I don't think so. Standing is going to be very interesting because Olivera, of course, he can knock anybody out. He has a great kneeing ability, punching ability, powerful left hook. And, of course, he's a great finisher. If he gets to Tsarukyan's back, he can finish the fight. However, I don't see it happening. I see Tsarukyan pressuring him, pushing him against the fence, pinning him up against the fence, getting some ground and pound. Positionally, it's going to be a seesaw battle, but Tsarukyan, I think, will come out on top, and his pace is going to be very high. I'm picking Arman Tsarukyan. Then we have a BMF title fight, Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. This, is my opinion, is the main event. That's why I told you guys there are many main events on this card. There's more than one main event, and I would like to see the main event, the last fight of the night, be Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway for the BMF title. These guys are bonus magnets. I think Justin Gaethje has gotten a bonus in every single one of his UFC fights. Actually, he's gotten more than one bonus for every. He's gotten 2 bonuses on a few nights. On more than one night, he got 2 bonuses. So he averages more than one bonus, performance bonus, per fight in UFC. Of course, Max Holloway, and I'll tell you how exciting he is as well. This is going to be a mega fight. I'm picking Justin Gaethje. Why? I think ultimately it's going to be Justin Gaethje's power. Holloway's moving up in a weight class. He wasn't that powerful. He was powerful, but not that powerful at featherweight. Justin Gaethje's powerful for a lightweight. I just think he's going to have the power advantage. The volume is going to be very competitive. Gaethje has more power. We saw his head kick against Poirier. We've seen his boxing. We've seen his power. He can throw down like nobody else. I think he's going to have too much power. He's going to hurt Holloway sooner or later. Holloway's going to survive. He's going to make it through I think it's a 5-rounder because it's a BMF title. Yes, it's 5-rounder. He will make it through the 5 rounds. However, I'm picking Justin Gaethje. I think he's going to pressure him. He's going to have Max Holloway more on the back foot than anything else. Then we have Zhang versus Sean Yang. I'm picking Zhang. I think she's just too much everywhere. Sean Yang, she has a good, powerful striking as well, but I think Weili is just on another level. Then, of course, we have the main event, the official main event. Guys, I also want to do the undercard. That's why I'm zipping through these, okay? But I'm doing the biggest fights first. The main card first. I'm picking Alex Pereira. Okay, now I think a lot of you out there are going to be picking Alex Pereira, but let me tell you something. We shouldn't sleep on Jamal Hill. I just rewatched his fights. The guy's a killer. He has incredible punching power. He switches a lot, which I don't think is going to be a problem for Pereira. Okay, Pereira has seen southpaws all day long. For him, it doesn't make a difference. The real difference that it's going to be, what's the real difference going to be? Pereira is going to be more efficient. Jamal Hill is going to get tired throughout the fight. Now, Jamal Hill can knock anybody out, including Pereira. Pereira can be knocked out. We've seen him get knocked out by Adesanya. Let's not forget. They both have killer hooks. Okay, well, Jamal Hill has a killer right hand. Whether he's southpaw, he turns it into a hook, or he's a righty, like he knocked out Johnny Walker with a right hand on the top of the head. Guys, how many times do you see somebody get hit on the top of the head? People saying it's the temple. It wasn't really the temple. It was kind of up here. How many times do you see somebody get hit here and get knocked out? It's very rare. Usually it's the temple, behind the ear, the jaw, the chin. It's so rare to see a knockout where a guy gets hit here, where it's a very, very dense bone here. Your crown here is very dense, one of the densest bones in your body. It's very rare that somebody gets hit there and gets knocked out. I've seen it. It does happen, yet it is extremely, extremely rare. Jamal Hill knocked out Johnny Walker, who was a beast of a man, a very powerful athlete with a good chin, knocked him out in a freakish way. Like Johnny Walker's body kind of jerked back and forth. It was like a really weird knockout. He turns southpaw, he turns it into a right hook. Dropped several people, knocked out several people in UFC. He's a killer. Pereira's got a crazy left hook. I think the best left hook ever in kickboxing history. Ever. Kickboxing history, not boxing history. Kickboxing history. His left hook is deadly. Jamal Hill has a crazy right hand / right hook because he switches to southpaw, right? Don't forget he switches both stance. Pereira has a crazy left hook. Incredible power. They could put each other to sleep, no problem. They're similar in reach, similar in size. However, Jamal Hill's combinations are not as developed as Pereira. Pereira has intelligent, slick combinations Whereas Jamal Hill, once he gets going, once he gets his opponent's hurt, he starts going left, right, left, right. He just pedals. That's what I call pedaling. You just punch left, right, punch left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And he gasses himself out. Pereira won't do that. Pereira's too smart. Pereira's combinations are far more sophisticated. As the fight goes, Jamal Hill's going to get less and less dangerous. Pereira's going to get more and more efficient, more and more dangerous. He's going to have better shot selections. And on top of it, he's a better kicker. Jamal Hill, yes, he has a great, very good head kick. But he's going to get out leg kicked. He's going to get out body kicked. And unlikely he kicks Pereira to the head successfully. Unlikely. Okay, because Pereira's got that Muay Thai style, which is all about covering the head kick. I think Pereira's going to be more efficient. Jamal Hill's biggest and best chance to win this fight is to finish Pereira in round 1. If he doesn't finish Pereira in round 1, if he doesn't finish him early in round 2, if it starts to go past round 2, I'm saying Pereira's going to start taking over more and more. Jamal Hill's going to get tired. He's going to slow down. He's going to get his legs chopped. He's going to get his body kneed. He's going to get caught with the pedalada. Pereira's eventually going to scissor knee. Now, let's not forget, Jamal Hill also has very, very good knees. He has a very, very good plumb. But it's going to be hard to plumb a 2-division glory champion. Now, in glory, they don't do a lot of kneeing. However, nonetheless, there is some kneeing from very good kneers. Tall guys with a long grip who want to knee you. They're allowed to knee you a few times before the referee breaks it up. Nothing Pereira has not seen. He's seen it all. Whatever Jamal Hill brings to the table, he's seen it. However, Jamal Hill has an incredible ability to generate power with his right hand, especially. He has a good left hand as well, but his right hand is the showstopper. I'm picking Pereira against Jamal Hill. I think he's more efficient. If this fight gets out of round 1, which I think it will, Pereira's going to win. Now, guys, the undercard is also super exciting. Let's look at the undercard real quick here. Preliminary card. We have Diego Lopez versus Sodiq Yusuff. Very interesting fight. Sodiq, a great striker, very good on the ground. Diego Lopez, a master of jiu-jitsu. Master. He's the one with triangle. He's had near subs on Mofsar. His striking is very blood and guts. This is going to be a very interesting fight. I'm going with Diego Lopez. I'll tell you why I'm going Diego Lopez. I think his pace is just going to be a little bit more frantic. But he's good for it. He's a bit of a blood and guts fighter when it comes to the feet. Sodiq is more technical. However, I think Diego Lopez can push through. I'm really impressed with this kid. I've seen a lot of his fights outside of UFC. They weren't that impressive, but he seems to have made a major jump in ability. This is a very interesting fight. Hard fight to pick, hard fight to predict, but I'm going with Lopez. Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. Guys, this is a very difficult fight to predict. Holly Holm beat Ronda Rousey. Kayla Harrison, if I recall correctly, she beat Ronda Rousey in the Olympics, in judo. I'm not sure if it was in the Olympics, but in judo, Olympic trials or whatnot. Can Kayla Harrison avenge the great judo loss against the kickboxing world champion Holly Holm? I think so, but I'm going to pick Holly. I'll tell you guys why. I've seen Kayla. Kayla is a beast. She's a tiger. I've been to PFL. I've seen her fight live. I think she's incredible. However, she hasn't been competing at the level of Holly Holm. Holly Holm has been competing against girls who are far more developed, far more sophisticated, and she's come out on top. She hasn't won all her fights. She's 15-6, but she's done it at a higher level. Now, not talking about judo, of course. Kayla Harrison has gone to the highest level of judo. MMA competition, Kayla Harrison hasn't seen the level of a Holly Holm yet. I think it'd be a tough first fight. Holly Holm is a tough first fight. Now, if she gets Holly Holm on the ground, Holly Holm's in a lot of trouble. We know she's not the best grappler. However, over the years, she's greatly improved. I think she can handle herself. She's going to have a great game plan, and I think she could pull it off. Guys, Aljamain Sterling versus Calvin Kattar. Very difficult fight to pick, guys. This one I can't even pick. I think it's 50-50 because Aljamain Sterling's first fight at featherweight. I'm very excited to see this fight. However, it's a very tough fight to call. This is going to be... We have to wait and see what Aljamain Sterling looks like at 1 145. I'm giving this one a 50-50. I'm not going to go any further than that because I just don't know what to expect for Aljamain Sterling at 145. Jiri versus Rakic, Alexander Rakic. Guys, I'm going with Jiri. I think Jiri's he's too much of an athlete. He's got 5-round experience. He's been in the big show. He's shown he's made of metal. He's an incredible finisher. Rakic is also very impressive. However, I'm going to give the experience edge to Jiri, and I think he pulls this off. Okay, guys. We have a great preliminary card as well. Early prelims. Guys, these could be all main events. All these could be main events on a fight night, at least. Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. Guys, I'm going with Figueiredo because I think it's his time. I think he's peaking. I think Cody Garbrandt is great. He's fantastic. He's a killer fighter. He's may touch gold again. I'm a big believer in Cody Garbrandt. However, I think Figueiredo is just on another level. He's been at the higher, 5-round fights. He's been in the high. He's just been in bigger fights. He's got momentum on his side. He's an incredibly impressive fighter. I'm picking Figueiredo. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. I'm going with Bobby Green. I think it's going to be a stand-up affair mostly, and I think Bobby Green's going to edge him out. He's going to win. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Guys, I don't know enough about Marina Rodriguez. I didn't get a chance to watch her fight, so I'm not going to make a comment on this one. Jaleel Turner versus Renato Moicano. Guys, if you haven't seen Jaleel Turner is an absolute killer. In round 1, he can annihilate anybody. Anybody. He can put anybody to sleep. However, after round 1, he seems to have a dip in energy. He seems to become vulnerable to all sorts of attacks. He's a very good wrestler. He's a very good striker and also a very, very good wrestler. He's proven to be able to finish absolutely anybody. He gets everybody in trouble in round 1. In round 1, he's an absolute killer. However, I think he's going to slow down, and I'm expecting Renato Moicano to make it out of round 1. And this is lightweight, though. Renato's coming up. Guys, anything can happen. This is a 50-50 fight. Jaleel Turner, let me actually look up real quick his last few fights here. I think it was Bobby Green. I think it was against Bobby Green. Let me see here. 10 KOs, 3 losses by KO. Out of his 14 wins, he has 10 KOs. Incredibly impressive. Yeah, that's right. He knocked out Bobby Green. He lost to Dan Hooker in an incredible fight, a barn burner. He lost to Gamrot. That was a very close fight. That was a very, very close fight with Gamrot. And he lost to Matt Frivola, unanimous decision. Guys, he's a knockout machine. Jamie Malarkey knocked him out in round 2. Now, he has some good wins on his record. He lost to Gamrot, guys, and he lost to Dan Hooker, and those were barn burners of a fight. He knocked out Bobby Green in round 1. He's just a killer, guys. I'm giving this fight because you know what? If this was at 145, I just think Jaleel Turner is maybe a little too big. I think he's a little bit too big. Because, even Gamrot barely got out of there. Guys, I got to go with Jaleel Turner. I'm going to go with Jaleel Turner on this one. Even Gamrot, I remember that fight now. That fight's coming back to me. Gamrot barely got him down. Even when he got him down, Jaleel Turner was a handful, man. Jaleel Turner is an incredible athlete and fighter. I have to go with Jaleel Turner. Okay, guys, that's my picks. Those are my picks. Give me comments and questions just on these fights. Comments and questions on these fights. Let's not move on to anything else. We're talking about these fights only. Okay, guys. No, I didn't skip Bo Nickel. I picked Bo Nickel. Obviously, I think that's the most lopsided fight. I think Bo Nickel is probably just going to win in round 1. It's the most. I assume that's the biggest. He's the biggest favorite on the entire card. Coach, how do you think Bo Nickel improved at striking so quickly? Is it genetics, natural attributes? That's from August. I think he's been boxing before. If I recall correctly, he boxed in the past. He's boxed in his career before. I don't know, because a lot of people do boxing and wrestling. Those are two very popular American sports. Okay, two great martial arts, two classic martial arts that everybody should be learning out there. But also he's a phenomenal athlete. Guys, wrestling builds your body. Wrestling is so good for building athleticism. Like if you grew up wrestling, you could do any sport. You develop a type of strength that just weights can't give you. Okay, wrestling is so important. Guys, forgive me for mispronouncing any names. I'm just horrible with names because I'm not familiar with these names. They're not French or Arabic or English names per se. So I'm just doing my best here. Forgive me, guys. I never do it on purpose. It's just me trying to pronounce the name as best I can. Justin might break Max's nose or vice versa. That's from Delton. Guys, I have a high respect for Gaethje's power. Gaethje's power is incredible. His durability, his output. I mean, I think he's like the first guy to really hurt and stop Tony Ferguson. Maybe Tony Ferguson was on a slide. That was the beginning of his slide, but I don't know if Tony was ever the same after that again. Bo never boxed. DC randomly made that up because Bo's mom boxed. That's from Alex. Well, if Bo's mom boxed, he saw boxing. It was for sure, like, it was around the house. You know what I mean? If his mother was a boxer, it's very likely that, he maybe hit the bag at home because, he does have, he's not new to striking. He's a dangerous striker. He can strike. Okay, so I don't think he just learned striking in a year. You know what I mean? It's more subtle than that. I think he probably did it when he was younger, gave it up, went really focused on wrestling, did it as a hobby here and there between, wrestling training seasons and all that. Because don't forget, they have wrestling seasons. They give their body a break. And of course, that develops his system. Like, guys, I make my kids do boxing. My kids don't do a heavy amount of boxing. I make them do a heavy amount of wrestling and jiu-jitsu. Heavy wrestling, jiu-jitsu, conditioning. I'm going to teach them striking intensely later on. But I still make them hit the bag. I think everybody should hit the bag. Absolutely everybody. I don't care if you're a full-time jiu-jitsu guy. I don't care if you're an ADCC level jiu-jitsu. You should be able to throw a punch. You should be able to throw a punch. It's so important. And I think a lot of wrestling coaches and jiu-jitsu coaches, not nowadays anymore in jiu-jitsu, but back in the day, like, guys, when we used to do jiu-jitsu earlier on, the first jiu-jitsu wave, I was very lucky to be a part of it, okay? When it came to Canada, there was no grappling tournaments. Nobody was just doing grappling tournaments. It was all underground fighting. So we would do jiu-jitsu. Then we would do, like, striking and takedowns and we'd basically do MMA, but open-handed, like pancrase. We'd slap each other, punching, kicking, and we try to take each other down. Just two grapplers trying to kickbox, even though we're not great at kickboxing. We would warm up on the ground, and then we would do MMA afterwards. That was jiu-jitsu training. Jiu-jitsu training was not like IBJJF rules training. Like today, you go to a jiu-jitsu class, it's all about like scoring points. When I was doing jiu-jitsu early on, it wasn't like that because there were no BJJ tournaments. There was nothing. There were little local tournaments, but if you wanted to go big, if you wanted to be on TV, it was MMA. Okay, so people were organizing little grappling tournaments, but there wasn't ADCC yet. There was no IBJJF. It was all MMA, Vale Tudo, fighting. That's what it was. The sport was for fighting. Then it evolved into a sports, and then it grew legs, and now everybody's trying to do sport all the time. We forgot that, throwing a punch is really important. So even wrestlers come from catch wrestling where they used to fight, okay? Wrestlers used to fight. So they always had a respect for a good punch. No, don't underestimate the importance of a good punch. Eid Mubarak, Ali. Eid Mubarak to all, guys. Eid Mubarak, Lam Bkhair, and I wish you all the best. See, we're saying, Ali Shudkri is saying, Bo has been boxing since he's a kid. I'm assuming he did some boxing. Of course, he wrestled at the highest level. He must have took long breaks, of course. I don't think he was training professionally since he's 6 years old or anything like that. We haven't seen enough of his striking, but we could definitely tell you, we could all agree, I should say, that he could throw a mean punch. He's not a beginner puncher. Coach, will BJJ ever go mainstream, or is it Danaher out of touch? That's from Alex. I think it's definitely going to go mainstream. I don't know what John said about that, but it definitely will go mainstream. It's a matter of time. There's no stopping it. Jamal Hill wants to stand with that monster. That's from Mr. T. He has no choice, guys. He can't. I don't think he takes Pereira down. If he tries to take Pereira down, it might just make himself tired. I'd be really surprised if he can pull that off. Very surprised. He has to strike with him. He has no choice. I think he's going to get his legs kicked. He's going to get tenderized. Pereira is very smart. Pereira is going to take him in deeper waters. He's not going to brawl with him. He's more technical. He's more solid. And Jamal Hill is very dangerous because he's got an extremely powerful right hand. And he switches stance. So it turns into a right hook or a right cross. He's a very dangerous guy. However, if Pereira is smart, which he is, he can get into later rounds and finish it. Give Bo a good opponent. This is a waste of time. That's from Eddie Monkisal. Guys, I get it. They're building him up. He only has 5 fights, okay? Now listen, the tough fights are going to come quick. You know, UFC is a very hostile place. You know, there's a lot of great fighters. But UFC is giving him a guy which I think he's going to crush. I'll be honest with you. That's why I didn't spend too much time on talking about that fight. However, he is only 5 fights in. They should give him 2, 3, 4, 5 fights. Build him up. Let him get comfortable in there. And then he's going to have a lot of mega fights. You know, he's going to, I mean, think about how many crazy fights he can do. I would love to see him against Khamzat one day. And it's going to happen eventually. I'm assuming these two are going to cross paths sooner or later. Hill going southpaw makes Pereira's leg kicks less effective. That's some King Spart. I agree with you. However, the body kick. Don't forget, Pereira's a great body kicker. He's still going to kick the inside of the leg. He's going to kick the body. He's going to kick the head. Now, Jamal also has a good head kick. However, Pereira's still going to kick the leg, even when he goes southpaw. It's not as effective if they're both righty. I agree. I totally agree. However, he's still going to kick the leg, the inside, the outside. He's going to kick the body. Guys, southpaw is not an issue for Pereira. It's a non-issue. That's something I always tell guys. Always spar with southpaws. Every time you go in sparring, and I like to switch stances. I don't care if you're fighting your righty. We have to do a round with a southpaw. You guys have to spar with a southpaw till sparring with a southpaw, fighting a southpaw is no different. Me, when I spar, it makes no difference to me if the guy's a righty or a lefty or if he switches stances. It doesn't matter to me. However, there are a lot of people out there when they fight a southpaw, they feel confused, they feel uncomfortable. You have to drill all the time, and you have to get ready for southpaws until they're a non-issue. This is so important for our fighters. Who wins, Khamzat versus Bo? I would tell you right now, I'd pick Khamzat because of his experience. However, that's if they build Bo up, they give him a few more fights that could change quickly. There's a lot we don't know about Bo. Bo always wins in round 1. He always has his way. What happens to Bo once the fight, seesaws back and forth? Does he break? Does he get stronger? These are all questions we have to wait and see. We have to wait and see what happens to him when he goes in deep waters. What kind of character does he have? This all matters. How is his conditioning? How is he strategically? I mean, his last fight, I saw him bounce back and forth. He was very explosive. That's not easy to do for 15 minutes nonstop with a guy who knows how to defend the takedown, the guy who knows how to punch back. Can be a very complicated situation Bo might find himself in. We learned a lot about Khamzat when he fought Gilbert Burns. We learned a lot about Khamzat. We saw some weaknesses. That was a very, very close fight. That was a very, very close fight. It wouldn't be crazy for the decision to go the other way. Even though I had it for Khamzat, it still was a very, very close fight. We learned so much about him, and I think he learned a lot about what he needs to go back to the gym and work on. And I'm sure he's going to come back better than ever. Of course, when we saw him fight Usman, we saw more issues with his game. I'm sure he's working on his game day and night. But we're going to discover a lot about Bo's game once he starts fighting tougher opponents. We need a meme of Coach Faraz doing mathematic equations between round 1 and 2 of Zahabi versus Bashrat. Congratulations. What? Thank you very much, first of all. But what mathematical equations? We need a meme of Coach Zahabi. Oh, I see. You're saying the game plan was really well. Okay, I see what you're saying. Thank you, Mike L. That's very sweet of you. Yes, we did have quite a game plan, and thank God it worked beautifully to a T, and I'm really happy with that. Why doesn't... Man, I need my glasses, guys. That's the thing about getting older. You need to start needing glasses. I hate glasses. I hate looking for my glasses. I hate putting them on. I haven't had to tinker with this. Hold on a second. I had it right here. Hill went to the same doctor as Aaron Rodgers. Do you think he had enough time to correctly rehabilitate? Do you think the injury may cause some sort of mental hesitancy? What was his injury, actually? I didn't look into it. I know. Jamal Hill. I heard people talking about it, but I'm not even sure what it was. Let's see what it was. Because, injuries do make a massive difference. I know he had to give up his title because of an injury, but I don't recall what it was. Oh, ruptured Achilles tendon. Wow. Guys, that is such a horrible... Oh, my God. Oh, man. A ruptured Achilles tendon. That's one of the worst things you can do to your body. Guys, please do me a favor. Don't get injured. Don't get injured. An Achilles tendon, a ruptured Achilles tendon is very preventable. Very, very preventable. And by the way, yes, that can make a major difference. How long ago was that? 6 months? Oh, no. He's been champion for 6 months. When did he tear his... January. So January, February, March, April. Oh, that's quick. Oof, that is a very quick turnaround. He injured it in January, so I just saw a quick article. It said January 10th. I hope that's accurate. Yeah, that's gonna... Man, that's not good. Guys, when you rehabilitate from an Achilles injury like that, it gets incredibly tight. It kills your explosiveness. It could really... If he doesn't... I don't know, man. You got to be really smart. And it's a very short turnaround to rebuild your leg. Because don't forget, you're in a cast for like 6-7 weeks. You lose a lot of muscle. You got to put that muscle back on. You can't wrestle so much because your joints are very vulnerable. Don't forget, the Achilles supports the knee. The knee supports the hip. Imagine you build a building and the block on the bottom is shaky. The whole thing can come collapsing. It's not a great injury. It's a very bad injury to have before a mega fight like this. This is a mega fight, guys. This is a mega fight. UFC 300 main event. He's fighting for a world title. He's fighting for the title he had to let up. Very bad injury. I hope he has the best guys working on him because this is a nightmare. Achilles rupture. First of all, it's super painful. I've never had it, okay? But I know plenty of guys who have. It's super, super painful. And yes, it could take the spring out of your step. It can really affect your striking for months on end. Guys, I'm only taking questions on the fight. So, Yosef Ragab, you're going to have to re-ask that question once I open it up to ask me anything. Right now, we're talking about the fights. UFC 300. Holly Holm is a big underdog. Really? Okay, well, I'm going with Holly anyway. Because, look, Kylie Harrison, she grabs her, she puts her on the ground. She might just lay in prey. She might sub her. She might just pin her down. I totally agree. Yes. However, I think this is a step up in competition because I've seen the girls that... Kyla has gone up against, and they're not UFC level. They just didn't have that UFC level. I think Holly Holm's gonna be a new jump, and that could surprise her, guys. I'm going with Holly Holm. I'm staying with Holly Holm. It's been 9 months. Okay, 9 months is a lot better. Okay, because the article I read said January. So January will be really quick turnaround. That's just, 4 months. That's a really quick turnaround. Okay, it's been 9 months. That's a lot better. Okay, so he can be at 100%. Definitely by 9 months. Absolutely. If he has professionals working here with him, there's no doubt in 9 months he makes it back to 100%. Thoughts on Israel versus Dreykus and Sean Strickland not getting the rematch? That's from Hassan Haytham. Guys, I have a feeling that, Sean Strickland was not the UFC's favorite champion. He says a lot of crazy things on the internet, and why aren't they not giving him a rematch? He was the champ. It was a very close fight, very controversial. A lot of people thought he won. Maybe they like Adesanya better as a champion. Maybe they don't, but I'll let you guys figure that one out. You guys tell me who you think the UFC prefers as a champion. Pay-per-view is stacked. My eyes is on my boy Poatan. Prediction, beautiful footwork, timing, and accurately times the left or right hook. Boom, lights out in less than 5 rounds or just before it ends after losing all rounds. That's from Shiz. Shiz thinks Poatan is going to... Did I read that correctly? Do you think Poatan is going to lose all rounds? You actually think that Pereira is going to lose all the rounds against Jamal Hill? No way. Shiz is the top G of the chat room, guys, but I'm not giving him this one. No. This one, he's wrong. Jamal Hill will not dominate round after round. Jamal Hill, in my opinion, has a great chance of winning in round 1 because he's a powerful freak. But then he starts to get dissected. Look, I'll give him a round and a half. Halfway, I'll give him the first 2 rounds. Let me be really generous. The first 2 rounds, he has a really good chance of winning. After that, he starts getting dissected by Pereira. I'll be shocked if he could win 5 rounds in a row. I'd be shocked. Let's say it goes to decision. Jamal Hill won all 5 rounds. I'll be very, very, very shocked. Holly Holm is 42 and Kala is only 33. That's from Alex. That's a very good point. You know, I didn't factor in Holly Holm's age. I'm sure she's still in tip-top form condition. She has a lot of miles on her in terms of combat. Of course, she's fought everybody. She fought in kickboxing. She fought in boxing, professional boxing. Don't forget, she was a world champion in boxing. She has a lot of years. She has a lot of miles. She must have a ton of injuries. You're right. That is a huge factor. You're bringing in all those wars, all those bruised ribs, all those times you got your chin checked, all those times you hurt your hand on somebody's head. That's all a major factor. You're absolutely right. Guys, we are talking only about UFC 100. We haven't opened it up to Ask Me Anything yet. It's completely about UFC 300. We're going to wrap it up shortly. Armin is going to knock down and submit Charles when he's dazed, just like Islam did. That's from Sheikh. It wouldn't surprise me. Armin seems to have found his power. His striking now is very dangerous, it seems. And it wouldn't surprise me if he can get a finish. But also, guys, I would never doubt Olivera's ability to finish as well. You know, we've seen him finish time and time again. Both those guys have a potential to finish, but Olivera has proven to be a more reliable finisher, even though I'm still picking Armin. Hey, coach, any chance Jan could beat Wei Li? Yeah, of course there's a chance, but Wei Li is just too much. I think she's just way too much. She's just better everywhere. She's on another level. But again, we're going to have to wait and see. Guys, for Sodik versus Lopez, from Samulators asking, what do you think about Lopez versus Yosef? That's a tough one to call, but I'm going with Lopez. I think he's more blood and guts than Yosef, but I think he's got more to push through, and his ground game is he's a phenomenal submission artist. He can get a finish. He can get a sub. I don't doubt him in the least. If he gets it on the ground, he could sub anybody. Figgy versus Cody, guys. I'm going with Figgy. I just think it's his time right now. Coach, how do you think the extra 10 pounds will affect Aljamain Sterling? That's from CY Stevie. Guys, I've seen guys go up in weight, and it's the best idea ever. And I've seen guys go up in weight, and it was the worst idea ever. It's so hard to predict these things. It's just so hard. We have to wait and see. That's why that fight I'm giving it a 50-50. I can't decide. I just don't know what. I've seen guys go down a weight class, and it was a disaster. And I've seen guys go down a weight class, and we're like, why didn't we do this sooner? It's very hard to predict. It's incredibly hard. Okay, guys, if you didn't get my predictions, a lot of you guys asked me for predictions. I went through the entire card earlier in this round, in this video. Now I'm going to open it up to Ask Me Anything. Guys, you keep asking me about the fights, that's fine. But we can talk about absolutely anything. Holly Holm is a big underdog. Okay, what else here? I had a super chat I had to skip because it wasn't relevant to the 300 card. Mike Tyson or Jake Paul? Guys, I'm going Mike Tyson. If Mike Tyson, I think he's on sauce right now. I think he's on juice. I think they got him in tip-top form. If he's doing that, he's going to win, okay? If he goes in there as a 57-year-old man or whatever, how old he is, and he's brittle, no, he's not going to maybe not win. But I heard the fight got canceled. Did it get canceled? Oh, let me look it up. Tyson versus... Oops. Hold on a second. Tyson versus Paul. Did it get canceled? I think I saw a headline. So both Tyson and Paul's fans won't have to worry as the bout is all set and takes place as per schedule. Tyson will be 58 when he takes on Paul on July 20th in Texas, but his fans are still clamoring to see former heavyweight champion in action. Guys, when he fought Roy Jones, he was, in my opinion, taking the big Flintstones. Okay, he was on the vitamins. Okay, I don't know what you guys want to call it, but in my opinion, he was on the vitamins. Guys, if he's on the vitamins, that's going to take 20 years off his age. He's going to cripple Paul, I think. If he's on the vitamins, let me just see here. Tyson prepping for Paul. Let me see. Let me just see a video of his shape. 1 month ago, 4 weeks ago. Is there anything recent? Let's see here. 9 days ago, inside Mike Tyson's training camp for Paul. Let's see what he looks like. Guys, they definitely got him on vitamins. I wonder what the weight difference is. Man, this is crazy. I can't believe Paul is going to get in the ring with him. If they got him on... I can't get a good footage. It's all like... Oh, here it is. Here's a nice picture of... Yeah, he's jacked, man. He's jacked. I don't know. He's still 58. I don't know. I'd love to see him in the practice room. Now, man. Actually, wait a second here. Let me see. I got some good footage of him here now. Oh, my God. He's going to hurt Paul. Man. Guys, if they got Mike Tyson geared up, if they got him on the Flintstones, if they got him on the big vitamins, he's going to... Good. Guys, he can break Paul's ribs, puncture a lung, I would... If Paul has a good friend in mind, if he has his good friend near him, cancel this fight, man. This is too dangerous. Way too dangerous. Mike Tyson might... Guys, I hope not. I'm not hoping. I really don't want to see Paul get seriously injured. I really don't want to see that on anybody. Okay? But this is incredibly dangerous. Incredibly dangerous fight. Guys, Mike Tyson would fold 280-pound men in half. Now, I know it's not Mike Tyson from the 80s. I know. I'm not crazy here. I don't think he's anywhere near that. The man's 58 years old. Time catches up to any athlete. I don't care how great he is. But still, guys, still. It's too much power, man. He's too dangerous. If George Foreman can do it, Mike Tyson can do it. That's from Little Trailblazer. No. First of all, George Foreman was not 58 years old when he beat Michael Moore. Okay, now Mike Tyson's not fighting Michael Moore. Michael Moore was a legitimate world champion, an incredible boxer that made it all the way to the top, was beating George Foreman. For those of you who didn't see, George Foreman comes out of retirement. I believe he was 54 when he fought Michael Moore. Michael Moore, a legitimate world champion, heavyweight world champion, a killer. He was beating George Foreman, taking every round, and then George Foreman dropped this weird overhand, old school punch. Like, I wish I was standing up so I could show it to you guys. What a beautiful punch. Foreman was cross-blocking. Foreman couldn't keep up with Moore, and then all of a sudden he timed it just right. One of the greatest boxers of all time. George Foreman comes out of retirement with a belly now. He used to be shredded, guys. He used to be the Mike Tyson of his day. He used to crush men. George Foreman used to crush men. He used to walk up like this, like a zombie, like his hands out. He used to paw people's punches, and then when he get close to them, boom, boom, boom. He would annihilate them. He would annihilate. I remember one video of watching him hit a bag. He put a hole in the bag the size like you thought a cannon. A cannon was fired at this bag. George Foreman in his prime versus Mike Tyson in his prime. I can't tell you I know who wins. That will be a crazy fight. George Foreman, you guys know him for the George Foreman grill, but he was a phenomenal boxer. If Ali never boxed, Foreman might have went down as the greatest of all time. He has one epic loss that nobody will ever forget. That just ruined his career, ruined his legacy, when he lost against Muhammad Ali, arguably the greatest boxing fight of all time. Why? Muhammad Ali's losing. Comes around after he did the rope-a-dope, the birth of the rope-a-dope. If you guys don't know, for those of you who are not familiar with boxing, Ali was on the ropes, just getting hit, getting killed. He said himself, he said, I thought I was gonna die. Now, back then, being against the ropes was considered to be the worst thing ever. It's still bad today, but back then in boxing, experts back then, they had a consensus that being against the ropes, you're getting killed. You have no good options. Today, you're against the ropes. It's still an expression. You know, you're in trouble. It's not great to be against the ropes. But back then, in the golden age of boxing, it was considered to be like like you're going to lose. The judges wouldn't favor you. So Ali's losing, getting killed. But the whole time, Ali's getting destroyed by Foreman. And Foreman is landing shots like a... Guys, these are shots that I'm sure Ali was peeing blood. Ali's telling him, that's all you got? That's all you got? And you see Ali on the video. You see him. He's talking. You can't hear what he's saying, but he's talking. And you could tell it's nasty. And Ali, he was, they used to call him the lip. He wouldn't shut up. He would never shut up. Before the fight, after the fight, he just kept talking. He's a talker. He was hilarious. He had rhymes. He had songs. He was an entertainer. But man, forget about Conor McGregor's smack talk. Ali was the greatest smack talker of all time. The man wouldn't shut up. He had a nickname for all his opponents. He would get into his opponent's head. He destroyed Foreman psychologically. Foreman, the fight was in Zaire, Africa. Blacks were taken from Africa, brought to America, were enslaved for hundreds of years, and now they're coming back to Africa as kings. That was the whole build up to the fight. We're coming back to Africa, the biggest fight. The two biggest names in boxing are two black men. And we're going to bring this fight to Zaire, the motherland. We're going to come back to Africa, but we're not coming back as slaves. We're not coming back as peasants. We're coming back as the kings, the top of the world, the top boxers of the world, the top athletes, the richest paid athletes in the world. Back then, if you were the heavyweight champion, you were considered to be the toughest man on earth. When people asked in the 70s and 80s, who's the toughest man on earth? Before the MMA boom, they would always say, whoever the heavyweight boxer world champion was, that was the guy. Nobody considered wrestling to be a real combat sport, okay? Which it was. Today, if I ask you who's the greatest fighter of all, who's the toughest man today, you're going to say whoever's the MMA world champion. Because we understand the importance of grappling and wrestling and kicking and punching and elbowing. Back then, they thought fighting was just about a punch. Remember, this is far before the UFC. George Foreman came to Africa with his German Shepherd. Now, Ali is one of the smartest fighters ever in history. He was super intelligent. He knew all about slavery. He knew a lot about politics. He knew a lot about what's going on in society. And he knew that when the Europeans came to Africa, they used German Shepherds. They used German Shepherds to round out the blacks. Now, Foreman coming back to Africa, he doesn't know much. Let's just say he was more muscle than anything else. Well, Ali was way sharp as a whip. Ali insulted him for bringing a German Shepherd, bringing the white man, European dog. And of course, he insulted him. He used a lot of words I'm not going to say on this channel, but he basically said that, he's ignorant of his heritage. He's ignorant of how he got to America. Ali had a chip on his shoulder. He was very anti-colonialist. He was very aware of slavery. He was very politically charged, where Foreman was just wanting to box, He's just getting destroyed in the pre-fight build-up. The people of Zaire were all on Ali's side, all of them. They saw Foreman as, I don't want to say the term, he's not one of us. Ali is one of us. Ali understands us. But guys, I got to tell you something. Foreman had way too much for Ali. Ali wasn't, there was too much power. Foreman was too powerful. He had just smoked Joe Frazier. No pun intended. Smoking Joe Frazier gets killed. Ali beat Joe Frazier, but he also got beat by Joe Frazier. He got his jaw broken. He had a very hard time with Smoking Joe. Smoking Joe goes up against George Foreman, gets annihilated, destroyed, gets stopped. I think it was like 2-3 rounds. Nobody could stop Foreman. George Foreman, guys, that Foreman grill you guys all like, that guy was one of the greatest punchers in history. He goes up against Ali. He's killing Ali. Yet the crowd is on Muhammad Ali's side. They're screaming, Ali Boumaye, Ali Boumaye. Kill him. Ali, kill him. Ali, kill him. Guys, there's no hope for Ali to win this fight. You absolutely must watch this fight. He's getting killed. Foreman's throwing punches. Bombs. And Ali's telling him, "What? That's all you got? That's all you got? You're nothing. You're nothing. You're getting tired, George. You're getting tired, George. You're getting tired." He's talking. Just non-stop insults. Foreman's getting furious. He's throwing harder shots, getting more tired. Ali turns it around, knocks him out in a couple of combinations, puts him out. The crowd goes berserk. Ali Boumaye, Ali, but yes, you did kill him. And since then, the expression was born. Rope-a-dope. Ali coined the term. I roped the dope. He's the dope. I let him empty his tank. I turned it around. That was my whole game plan the whole time. Now today we say, oh, you're just roping a dope. What's a rope-a-dope? Let the guy get overconfident. Let the guy spend all his energy. Let the guy do all the work, and then I'm gonna catch him at the end. It's a strategy that Ali implemented brilliantly. All this to say that George Foreman, to come back, he retired after George Foreman. You never heard it. George Foreman had a lot more world title fights in his arsenal. He retired. The psychological beating was worse than the getting knocked out. Guys, it was a bad knockout. It wasn't a career-ending knockout. It was a good knockout, but he could have came back. But psychologically, Foreman was never the same after Zaire. Never. The man retires, becomes irreverent. Think about that. He wants redemption. Like the guy went in the spiritual place somewhere. Comes back to boxing. 44 years old. I think he was 44 years old and he fought Michael Moore. But he was out of shape. He was fat. Like he's big belly. But it's still a killer. Still a killer. And it's kind of what Ali did to him in Zaire, he did to Michael Moore. Yeah. He just kind of cross block, couldn't move around. He wouldn't sit down between rounds. They asked him, why don't you sit down between rounds? He's like, if I sit down, I can't get back up. What a crazy time in boxing. George Foreman knocks out Michael Moore, wins the world championship. Incredible. And now today you guys have probably the most famous grill in history. Oldest champion ever. Maybe in boxing, yes. George Foreman was probably the oldest champion ever, yes. Was 45. Okay, somebody's telling me, throwaway accounts telling me George Foreman was 45. That's incredible. At 45 to win a world champion in heavyweight boxing. Incredible. What do you think of Sit Yao Fo Muay Thai style? Sit Yao Fo. Let me look that up. Guys, I'm always doing a mixture of super chats and non-super chat. Sit Yao Fo Muay Thai. Sit Yao Fo Muay Thai. Guys, I've never heard of Sit Yao Fo Muay Thai. But seems like a training camp in Thailand. Guys, training camps in Thailand, they're a dime a dozen, but there are different levels of training camps. So I can't tell you I'm familiar with this one, but there's a lot of elite training in Thailand. Okay, a lot. So I don't know all the training camps, but... How old was Archie Moore when he was competing? That's from you. And Archie Moore had hundreds of professional boxing fights. Let me look that up, actually. He was actually Muhammad Ali's trainer. He was Ali's trainer. He fought Ali, actually. He fought Ali. They got into a dispute because Archie Moore wanted Ali to sweep the gym, and Ali was like refusing to sweep the gym. He's like, no, I can't sweep the gym. I'm a champ. And Archie Moore wanted to be a humble student and sweep the gym and do like everybody else. Ali was brash back then. And they got into a beef. Ali stopped training with him, and they ended up crossing paths. And Archie Moore was older when he fought Ali, and he ended up losing to Ali. Let's see, Archie Moore. Let's see, 186 fights, 132 KOs, guys. Archie Moore was a killer. 23 losses, 7 by KO, 10 draws. Career was 1935 to 1963. Wow. The man fought on for almost 30 years. 5'11", San Diego, California. Alias the Old Mongoose. That's incredible. Archie Moore, man. He lost to Muhammad Ali in his second to last fight. TKO. Ali was 15-0 at the time. That was in 1962. So his second to last fight. Then he fought again against Mike DiBiase. It was Mike DiBiase's debut. Archie Moore won by KO. It's probably just a gimme fight, and just probably for him to end his career on a win. He fought in Montreal. Look at that. Win by KO. That's incredible, man. So much history. We have so much history here in Montreal. So much fight history. All right, guys. What else we got here? What other crazy questions you guys have? What's your general opinion on Schopenhauer and Spinoza's work? I did a deep dive on Schopenhauer's work. I'm fascinated by his work, even though I find him to be a very questionable human being. He was not a very nice person. It seems like his biography just is quite nasty. One day I'm going to talk to you guys about Schopenhauer, and we'll get a deep dialogue on Schopenhauer. Maybe not tonight, but I'm just now actually reviewing Spinoza's work. It's funny that you asked me about Spinoza. I'm visiting his work. I never went too deep into Spinoza. I know Spinoza well, but not very, very well. And I'm revisiting his work now to try to get a few layers deeper into his work. I think in my second time around, I think a lot of people out there got him wrong. I don't want to talk too soon yet because I'm still gathering my thoughts on Spinoza's work. He's actually quite a fascinating guy. And but Schopenhauer is actually quite remarkable. Fascinating man. But his philosophies were fascinating, not his biographies. His biography is actually quite horrific. Eid Mubarak, brother. Reminder for the brothers and sisters to make donations to help Palestine. Beit Mal and UNICEF are a good option. Inshallah. Eid Mubarak to you all, and thank you very much for that reminder, guys. I can't wait to see the end of the violence in the Middle East. Killing civilians on either side is always wrong. Don't ever forget that. Don't make excuses for why it's okay to kill innocent civilians on either side. It's wrong each time. Two countries at war, shooting soldiers. Those are legitimate targets. There's never an excuse. I can find fault in both sides. Both governments, in my opinion, have to go. They're both ultra right-wing extremist governments. Anything you tell me bad about Hamas, I can find it on an Israeli side, the government side. Anything you tell me about the Israeli side, I can kind of find it in Hamas. Who threw the first punch? I would tell you, yes, Israel is a colonialist project, a Zionist project. By definition, means you have to ethnically cleanse the area, because if you want a Jewish democracy, you need Jewish people to vote. If you have Arabs there, they're going to vote for Arabs. You can't have a true democracy in Zionism, because it's a government that chooses the people. It's not a people that chooses the government. Don't ever forget that. This is not something people talk about for some reason. Everybody's always saying, yeah, but because of October 7th, guys, the war didn't start on October 7th. We all know that, okay? It started way before October 7th. This is going on for nearly 80 years now. Remember, Muslims and Jews, we always got along. By and large, we always got along. Always. No two people get along perfectly, guys. Don't go and find me a little battle that happened here. Yes, I get it. We had beef, yes, but very, very minimal compared to the rest of the world. We are a very compatible people. Guys, compare what the Romans did to the Jewish people. Compare what the Christians did to the Jewish people. Compare what Europe did to the Jewish people. The Europeans, the Christians, the Romans, they always tortured and attacked and destroyed Jewish culture and people. Enemy number one was always the Jews. Now, Islam is completely against that. The Jews always lived in Muslim lands till very recently. Yes, the Muslim countries expelled the Jews because of Zionism. There was a beef over Zionism. There was a Zionist movement, and the Arab world reacted by kicking out Jewish people from their homeland, which I think is wrong. I think was wrong. The Arab countries should not, you should never kick somebody out of their home. They own that territory. They own that house. You can buy them. You can buy their home if they're willing to sell. If they're not willing to sell, that is their home. When the Zionist project kicked out Palestinians from their homes, I think that's completely wrong. When the Arabs kicked out Jews out of their homes, I think that's completely wrong. You cannot take somebody's home. You cannot take their land. You cannot seize their bank accounts. These are things that are, these are crimes. We have to remain consistent. We have to be fair with everybody, regardless of the label. This is something that humanity can do. Okay, I have a lot of faith in humanity. Why? Because the further back you go, the more violent man was. Like, we're getting a lot better. That's what people don't understand. Like, people are like, oh, it's hopeless. It's not hopeless. Actually, no, it's not hopeless. Man is getting wiser, more fair, more just, more moral as time goes. This is actually the most peaceful time in human history. I'm going to say that again because a lot of people probably think I'm wrong here. No, I'm so sure of this. I'm so sure of it. I'm going to say it twice. We live in the most peaceful time in human history. As much horror you see online, it's still the most peaceful time in history, human history. I'm telling you guys, the medieval period, the ancient period was worse. It was worse. Human history was a bloodbath. Now, we didn't have the technology back then to kill each other en masse like we do today. However, it was horrific. Okay? Don't get me started on Genghis Khan and all the wars, the colonialism, the British Empire, the spread of the French colonialism. Don't get me started on that. I'm telling you, human beings are getting wiser. Social media is making a difference because people see atrocities and they complain about it, and they get very angry. Everybody out there should complain about every atrocity because it makes a difference. Israel just recently killed 7 aid workers. They hunted them down for 1.5 kilometers. This was not a mistake. This was a hit. There's countless IDF soldiers now flipping, saying, look, we're told to kill. We're given a license to kill. We're not going to take the fall for this. There's a whole movement called Breaking the Silence, where ex-IDF soldiers are saying, look, we're the terrorists. We're told to do these things. We're told to break the law. We don't care about international law. We're here to remove, we were taught to bully Palestinians, to crush their spirit, to make them want to leave the country. They've put it in their charter. Israel has put it in their charter to create as many settlements as possible. That's basically, let's take as many Palestinian homes as possible. That's what it is, basically, because they're going Palestinian territories. It's illegal, guys. Every international body agrees this is illegal. Let me just say something really important here. Dershowitz and Finkelstein both had a debate recently. They've had debates in the past. They just had a debate recently. And Finkelstein said something so brilliant. He said, look, all these settlements are illegal. All these atrocities are illegal. You don't have one international body that agrees with you. Not one international body agrees with your arguments. This is Finkelstein. He's pro-Palestinian. He's a Jewish scholar. He's a Jewish historian. He's telling you, look, there's no organization in the world that agrees with what you're saying. Because he was justifying land seizures, the atrocities happening after October 7th. And you know what he said? He said, the UN is not a legitimate body. He actually said that. The ICJ is not a legitimate body. None of these. And he appealed to the Israeli courts. Guys, this is insanity. Everybody in the world is wrong. Guys, these international bodies, the nations came and agreed on rules after World War II. And I hate when people say, oh, look what happened. Look what we did in World War II. That was justified. That's totally wrong. After World War II, the world came together and said, never again. Let's never do this again. Guys, this was crazy. We lost our minds. We killed so many innocent people. We documented it all. It's on video. People now have cameras. We can't just kill people and bury them and nobody's ever going to hear about it. These atrocities are being documented. Our children are going to look back in horror, which is true. We look back at World War II and we're like, how could people have done that? They were so evil. They were so bad. We spit on their graves and nobody complains about it. We can criticize Nazi Germany to no end and nobody will bat an eyebrow. The atrocities of the past were so horrific. The world came together and said, never again. We started making international bodies like the UN, like the ICJ. We're never going to do this again. We're going to make rules. We're all going to agree to it. When we fight, here are the rules of combat. No rubber bullets, no poisoning each other, no collective punishment, no starving, no cutting off electricity, none of these things. Israel has committed several war crimes before October 7th. The ICJ, the International Criminal Court, did a 5-year investigation and found them guilty of a vast majority of international laws. However, they can't do anything about it because Israel's too powerful. They're backed by the US. There is no question that Israel is a colonial state that came, invaded, colonized, massacred, expelled, seized the bank accounts of the Palestinians, made it illegal to talk about the Nakba. In Israel, you're not allowed to talk about the Nakba when they expelled the Palestinians. You're not allowed to talk about it. It's illegal. However, it's also illegal to deny the Holocaust. So they massacred, they killed. Guys, we have countless documentaries of IDF soldiers, retired IDF soldiers, bragging about how many people they killed. Telling stories, and we have video evidence as well, telling stories about how they asked one soldier, I saw this documentary, they asked one soldier, how many did you shoot? He's like, I don't know, one clip had 240 bullets, so 240 bullets, 10 clips, I lost track of how many people I killed. Like, what? You're just admitting to a mass murder. Yeah, he's laughing about it. He's actually laughing about it. Sadistic. They destroyed Palestinian homes. They seized bank accounts. They expelled. They massacred. They murdered. They expelled close to 1 million people, 750,000 people. They're still to this day not allowing those people to come back to their home. It's illegal. It's illegal in Israel to talk about the Nakba, to commemorate the Nakba. Yet it's illegal to deny the Holocaust. Why? Of course, I don't think you should deny the Holocaust, but why deny the Nakba? It's a tragedy. It happened. We want justice for those people. Nope. You can't talk about it. And here's another thing. You're not allowed direct-to-customer DNA tests in Israel. Why? Well, a lot of those people come from Europe. Why are we giving them the Palestinians? Because we can give Palestinians DNA tests. What are you going to find out? You're going to find out they come from Palestine. They come from the Middle East. A lot of the people who were brought to the Middle East are not originally from the Middle East. There's so much to know. I can't go through it all, obviously, but there are many injustices. But Norm Finkelstein said something that I absolutely loved. He actually brought up the story of Nat Turner. Now, if you guys remember, for those of you hardcore listeners to my podcast, you know I talked about Nat Turner several times on this podcast since the tragedies that are happening in Palestine. And I likened the Nat Turner story to what's happening in Palestine today. I'm going to review it real quickly. I'm going to put it in a nutshell. But to hear Norm Finkelstein bring it up, I feel justified of bringing it up because I know it's a touchy subject. Okay, these are very touchy subjects, but for Norm to bring it up and make the same parallels, and Norm had never brought it up before. I've listened to so many of Norm's lectures. He's never brought up Nat Turner in terms of Palestinians. But to hear him say it, just recently he brought it up, and he likened the Nat Turner story to what's happening to the Palestinians. Guys, Nat Turner was a famous slave. This is a very important point I'm about to make. Please, guys, listen carefully. And I think Norm Finkelstein kind of missed this point. He missed this point. He missed these details. The Nat Turner story, it's after the transatlantic slave trade. European Americans, they bring blacks to America. They enslave them. They torture them. They completely dehumanize them. Completely. A black person is inferior to a white person. They're made to be slaves. They have all these horrific narratives that today we cringe at. One of the most evil human operations in history. Transatlantic slavery. Nat Turner, a black man, a black slave, starts reading the Bible, gets very religious, starts seeing that, hey, look, Moses was a minority. Jesus was a minority. Look, they rebelled. In the Bible, you have a lot of stories about minorities rising up, fighting the man. God is on our side and we're going to win. So he starts thinking, you know what? We're going to rise up. We're going to rise up. Guys, the Bible's full of rebellious stories. We're going to rise up. We're going to rise up. The Messiah is coming. The Messiah is coming. We're going to have a Savior. He's going to come. He's going to pull us out of this. Nat Turner starts to think, hey, you know what? He starts having a messianic complex. He starts thinking, I'm God's prophet. I'm God's chosen one. I'm going to rise up. I'm going to lead these people. I'm going to lead the black man out of slavery. What does he decide to do? He decides to, when the white master, I'm putting into air quotes, is sleeping, let's kill them all. That's what they did. They killed their white master. Again, I'm putting it in air quotes. He kills them in their sleep. He kills the wife. He kills the children. He beheads the children. He kills everybody. They kill about 60 people. Okay, now they were on the run. Him and his group were on the run for about, I would say, if I remember correctly, 60 days, 70 days, a little over 2 months. They get tried. They get hung. They get killed. They get lynched. And now America is faced with a question. What do we do? Okay, we got them. We killed them all. What do we do here? Well, some Americans, some white Americans were saying, let's emancipate them. Let's allow them to integrate into society. Let's end slavery slowly. Let's pay them. Let's humanize them. We've gotten to know them. They're Christian like us. You know, they have a religion. They have right and wrong. They can be taught our way of life. You know, they can be integrated. I shouldn't say they be taught. They can be taught. They can be integrated into society. They can be tax-paying members of society. They can contribute. No. The vast majority said no. We need to subjugate the black man further. So we had two schools of thought. One, humanize them. Make a place at the table for them. Slowly emancipate them. Give them more and more freedoms. Slowly until you give them full writing votes and make them full-fledged citizens of America. To the majority of whites, that was preposterous. That's what I'm telling you we have to do in the Middle East. Everybody should have full human rights and full voting rights. We have to emancipate every group and slowly have a debate of ideas. Now it's just debate of ideas. Forget the Middle Ages. We don't need debate of wars. Now we can communicate freely. That was a different time. Okay, we'll talk about the ancient time. The ancient time was very unstable. Today, in society around the world, we're very stable. We can't compare ourselves today's human situation. Today's man's situation today is very different than the ancient world and the medieval world, where one empire was always trying to crush another, and there was massive instability all over the world. Today, we have massive stability. We have to emancipate and allow the freedom of Palestinians in every way possible, and then Hamas won't be needed. Nobody's going to be interested in joining Hamas. You know, if Hamas came to me tomorrow and said, hey, you want to join our group? I'd be like, you crazy? Why would I want to join your group? I have complete freedom. I have a job. I have a family. I have a career. Why is it appealing to young men to join Hamas? Well, because they have the highest unemployment rate in the world. The only jobs you can get is, you know, before October 7th, if you wanted to work, if you're a Palestinian and you wanted to work. If you're a Palestinian, you want to work, where can you work? You got to go do the jobs the Israelis don't want to do. That's it. That's the job you have. That's the life you have. Basically, it's modern day slavery. You want to clean toilets, you want to touch garbage, you want to do people's, you want to do the dirty work for people. That's the job we have for you. And guess what? You're going to get paid very little. And then we send you back home in your open air prison. Guys, it's an eyesore. It's completely inhumane. They limit calories, they limit food, they limit clean water. They do every dirty trick in the book on the Palestinians. No wonder Hamas is a byproduct of colonialism, suffering. Now, here's why I'm not justifying atrocities of October 7th. I'm completely against it. I want you guys to hear my words here. It's completely haram. It's explicit in the Quran, in international law, every which way you look at it, about it. It is 100% wrong. You can't kill innocent people. You can't gun down innocent people. I'm totally against that. Soldiers, two countries fighting, soldiers are legitimate targets, guys. That's if you follow the international community or you follow the Quran, it's both. They're both say the same thing. What's wrong is killing innocent people. Let's not make any excuses on either side. Now, Hamas is a byproduct of inhumane living conditions, unlivable. I got to quote Obama on this. Obama says, he visits with the Palestinians and he says, look, their life is intolerable. Nobody can live like this. Anybody, any human being, you take away his food, you take away his freedoms. He's seeing online, these young men, they're watching the world on the internet. Oh, look, people go to the water sites, people travel, people go here, people have all these freedoms. And me, I got to live in this behind these walls. Poor, poverty. 50% unemployment rate. And in the youth, it's 60. Think about it. You're a young man. You have a limited amount of education. You're not allowed to go further in life. There's nothing to do in this open air prison. You're in the most densely populated area in the world. And just behind that wall, they have all the money in the world. They have all the luxuries of the world. 60% of Israelis get government subsidy. They're rich. They get money for free. They don't have to work. America sends them checks. They have full health care. Even in America, they don't have full health care. Yet they send billions of dollars because we want Israel to have full health care. You got to ask yourself why. America just uses Israel to do its dirty work. It's just basically, I see it as a military base. I see Israel as just a military base. I think ultimately speaking, it's to control oil. But that's just me. That's my opinion. It's to scare Arab leaders. Hey, don't you dare ever raise those prices on us. Don't you dare. You sell that oil to the price we tell you, or we have our military base right next door. We'll create havoc. That's my opinion on the Middle East. Now, guys, with that said, there are atrocities on both sides. There are extreme governments on both sides. However, I'm being fair now. If you're asking me my honest opinion, and I'm willing to change my opinion, I'm willing to have anybody give me a counter argument to this. Israel threw the first punch. The Zionist project, by definition, was about getting rid of Arabs. That's it. The Zionist project saying, look, we want a Jewish state alone, purely Jewish, and we want to do it on your land. And the Europeans are going to give us our land because they feel bad for us because they tortured us for so many years. Why don't they give you their land? Why don't they give you a chunk of their land? What do they have? Why don't you come here and immigrate to the country? Because you can immigrate to a Muslim land. You can. It's not a problem. There were Jews living in Palestine before the Zionist project. You come here like every other immigrant around the world. You work, you rent an apartment, you buy a house, you build from the ground up, and you own what you bought. You own it. Like when I came to Canada, my parents came to Canada. Arabs came to Canada. We didn't kick out any Canadians from their homes. We rented apartments, saved up money, worked hard, bought homes. Now we got businesses. We're paying taxes. We're full-fledged tax-paying members of society. We didn't harm nobody. We didn't spill one drop of blood. That's the only way mankind can move forward. This is the correct way to move forward. Peaceful integration, a battle of ideas. The new arena today is no longer the sword. It's no longer the gun. It's no longer the cannon, the missile. Now it's a battle of ideas. We all have these podcasts. We all have them. We sit down, we have an exchange of ideas, and we decide what's the next step to take forward. That is true, Coach, but how do you make those debates happen? That's from Lee Double Z. Look, I would tell you, historians need to do it on public platforms. Subject matter experts. There's a lot to know about the Middle East, guys. It didn't happen yesterday. Okay? There's a lot to know about the Middle East. And I love the debate between Dershowitz and Finkelstein. I absolutely love it. Why? Because Norm is so correct. But they both know the region very well. Dershowitz is a lawyer. I don't know how he defended Epstein. Like, I don't know how this guy still goes on the internet. I don't know how he goes on TV. But in my opinion, and I think the opinion of 99% of the people listening to this debate are going to say Finkelstein just dog-walked him. He dog-walked him. He basically told him, look, you're completely wrong. You're against the law. You're against international law. You're imprisoning people. No wonder they want to fight you. You took their land. You have to appease them. You have to give them reparations. You have to make it right. You have to integrate them to society. And the only reason you don't want to is because they might vote for a Muslim or an Arab, and you don't want Arabs in your democracy. You don't. That's the truth. They don't want Arabs in their democracy. Netanyahu to this day is saying, I won't even be neighbors with them. There's no two-state solution. Forget giving them their human rights and full voting rights and treating them like human beings. I won't even let them have their own state, meaning I have to control everything about them. I have to control their intake, their water, their economy, their resources. I control them, even though I say that it's their land. It's not true. They were ever free. The Gazans were never free. They say, oh, we let them be free. We left in 2005. No, you didn't. You occupy them. You let them go in and out by your control. You let everything about Gazan life is controlled by the Israeli government. Don't you ever forget that. That's the unanimous consensus by international law. When after October 7th, they said we're going to cut off their water, their food. How could you cut off their food, their water, their electricity if you're not in control of that country, if you don't occupy them? You clearly occupy them. You can't say you don't occupy them and then say I'm going to cut off their water, food, and resources. That means you occupy them. That means you control their resources. It's just one contradiction after another. Now, they also refer to Palestinians as human animals. Now, you might say, okay, coach, he was talking about Hamas. Okay, maybe he was talking about Hamas. I'm going to give you that one. But you also have Netanyahu saying publicly that we can't forget we're dealing with Amalek. Amalek is a call to genocide. Even if he's talking about, let's say he comes out and says, oh, I'm referring Amalek as Hamas. In the Bible, guys, and I've read the entire Torah, okay? When it comes to Amalek, you're supposed to kill everything that has to do with Amalek. Their women, their children, but keep the females who haven't known men. Their livestock. I don't know why you have to kill their chickens and what's it called? Donkeys and horses. You gotta kill everything that's alive, except the women who are virgin, the females who are virgin. Okay, you make of that what that is. They have to annihilate everybody, women, child, baby, everybody. That's the Amalek call. I can't believe this man went on TV. He's the prime minister of a nation and said that. And the West didn't condemn him for it. And then he holds up a picture of Greater Israel where there's no Palestine. Palestine doesn't exist. It's not even on the map anymore. And then he's talking about how, we're going to have this corridor of, this new corridor of trade. Dude, you just showed us a map of no Palestine on the map. And you're calling for genocide. Like literally Amalek is a call for genocide. If you guys are not familiar with the Bible, I understand you might not understand this, but I'm telling you, it's an explicit call to genocide. It's an eradication of them all. Like I can go on forever. But now that they killed 7 aid workers, and this one is a slam dunk. Like they have no excuse. Israel has zero excuse. They actually apologize about it. If you guys don't know this, but Israel they never apologize. They'll kill a little child, no apology. No, well, it's, there was a Hamas guy 5 kilometers away. We had to kill everybody. Like literally, they bomb refugee camps. It's international crime. Literally, there was one Hamas guy, 500 Palestinians. They fired a missile, killing hundreds of Palestinians for one. Maybe is an absurd, guys. If we go by this standard now, the whole world's forget World War II. World War II will seem like nothing. If we start these new standards, World War II will seem like nothing when World War III comes around. Everybody's fair game. It's insanity. The whole world has to come together and pull back Israel. This is a new precedent that can trigger a horrific war, a forever war, a war that could be something we all greatly regret. For us, the world is very depressing. Only the real men can face it with honor, but they are few. That's from Samurai Yun. You find the world depressing. Let me tell you something. We live in the greatest time of human history. I'm a lover of history. Trust me, when I read history, man, I feel like it blows my mind how human beings were ferocious. It blows my mind. Believe me, this is the good part of human history. As depressing as it can be. That's horrific. Like every day I watch the news. First thing I do when I wake up, I look up Palestinian. Like what's happening in the Middle East. It's heartbreaking. It's horrible. But it's horrible. But it's still human history. I think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think it's gonna end soon. Guys, there were crusades. There were wars that lasted hundreds of years, millions of dead. Like it's just an insane amount of killing. The history is such an insane amount of killing. One day these people must be held accountable for this genocide. That's from Harrington. Yes. And I'll tell you something. Their descendants will cringe. They'll look back and they'll cringe. This is the first genocide document in history. And a lot of people are going to be like, oh, well, it doesn't necessarily fit the definition of genocide. You're wrong. Completely wrong. It does fit the definition of genocide. And I'll tell you something. There was another brilliant Norm Finkelstein. This is ridiculous. This one was ridiculous. So on Lex Friedman's show, Norm Finkelstein, 2 other scholars, and a gamer. And his name is Destiny. Now, this guy, Destiny, I've seen him here and there. Like, I never listened to him. Man, he's a moron. Like, Norm Finkelstein completely annihilated him. But the thing, the guy's a gamer, and I get it. It's okay. I'm not against having a gamer on the podcast. I'm not against it. Okay, maybe he's gonna bring in an interesting angle. He's gonna ask interesting questions that we might have because we're not all scholars listening to this. He can add an interesting dimension. Maybe he can help us like remind these scholars that they have to clarify certain things because to the layman's ears it doesn't make sense. But no, this guy Destiny, this gamer, he was not there. He was not there to kind of like ask questions, what, I think this, what could be wrong? Like, he didn't have a humble attitude. He was there telling Norm Finkelstein, one of the most respected scholars of the Middle East, everybody, whether you agree with him or not, everybody absolutely respects his work. Destiny's there yelling at Norm Finkelstein, telling Norm Finkelstein he's biased, he's completely wrong, doesn't know what he's talking about, it's absurd what he's saying. Guys, Norm Finkelstein is like, how can I tell you, man? Like, he's like the Alexander Pereira of Middle Eastern history. Like, he's a star. The guy's a star. The guy's been doing this for 40 years. He's been studying the Middle East. He's read everything about the Middle East, all the reports, all the comments from all other historians. The guy's a walking encyclopedia. And this guy, Destiny, who's on Wikipedia, he's got his iPad, he's reading. They start talking about a march, and Finkelstein's talking about the March of Return, and there was more than one march, and Destiny is talking about the wrong march. There was many marches. There's more than one March of Return. And Norm is telling him, look, you fool, you imbecile, you baboon. You're talking about the wrong day. I'm talking about something else. And he's talking about, because Norm Finkelstein reads the reports. After there's an engagement between Palestinians and Israelis, they do reports. The UN goes in there and investigates what happened. They look for material evidence. They don't just look for rumors, material evidence. And Norm Finkelstein brings up the material evidence. Israel committed a war crime. It was a peaceful protest by Palestinians. There was no Molotov cocktails. There was no bombings. There was no explosions. They were respecting the distance between the wall and the Palestinians have to respect a certain distance from the wall. They were respecting it. Everything was a green light. The Israelis shot at them. The Israelis even picked off people in wheelchairs. They committed atrocities. They killed over 100 people. Destiny was talking about a different march, and Finkelstein was trying to explain it to him, and Destiny was just foaming at the mouth because he had his little Wikipedia. He had his talking points already. He's completely an arrogant attitude, fell face first. Guys, this is an international war crime. It's documented. There's no two ways about it. Unless you want to say that every international court is wrong. All the judges, those 15 judges, all the reviews, all the appeals, they're all wrong. Everybody is wrong. This gamer guy is right. That's what you want to tell me. Okay, maybe somebody out there is like, no, Destiny, he's a progeny, guys. He understands more than everybody else. He went 20 minutes on Wikipedia and he figured out the Middle East quickly, and he knows right from wrong more than everybody else. It's an absurdity. Norm Finkelstein called him out, insulted him. It was a great moment. And all the other, the other two guys, the other two commentators were laughing. They were like, this kid's an idiot. If I was sitting there with Norm Finkelstein, I would raise my hand and say, look, I want to ask you, I think this, but am I wrong? Where can I be wrong? Where can I do more research? Where can I go and, what am I getting wrong here? Because I see it another way. I would be much more humble in my approach to talking to Norm Finkelstein. Not so with Destiny. And then, because I listened to a video on Destiny, another video came up with Destiny. Another video on my feed. I'm like, who's this guy? Maybe I got him wrong. Maybe he's an intelligent guy. Maybe he's not just a gamer. They had him on with Norm. I mean, he's got to be something. And I click on his video and I hear him talk. He's an intelligent guy, but he's very biased. You know, he's very, very pro-Israel. He doesn't see any evil in Israel. Israel's doing everything right. We have to kill more people. We have no other way. Like, it's completely absurd what he's saying, of course. It's genocidal rhetoric, completely genocidal. I think he's a maniac. I think he's absolutely crazy. He's not a military expert. Yes, yet he's saying that everything that's being done is justified. There's no other way to go about it, which is completely absurd. There are much more intelligent ways to go about it. Absolutely. And he's not a military expert. He's not referring to any source to explain to us why this is the only way. Like, it's just complete buffoonery. But I saw something even worse. Video comes up, Destiny the cuck, or Destiny this. He has an open marriage with his wife, and he has no prenup, and his wife is divorcing him for some other guy. And it's like, wow, now I understand. Now I understand. The guy's got like purple hair, blue hair. I'm like, this kid is a lefty. Explain to me how a lefty, a liberal, is pro-genocide. It doesn't make any sense. Why would a young kid who's very lefty, because conservatives, they don't let their women sleep around with a bunch of men. They don't get cucked. They don't like, they don't dye their hair purple per se. Why is this guy so gun-ho? Still a mystery to me. Still a mystery. Because usually people on the left are a lot more, don't kill people. Killing is bad. Human beings before nationality. Don't be so the world's just the human race and all these made up lines. They're not that important. They're more open borders type thinking. They're more integration. They're completely different. They're more like, yeah, let your wife have a boyfriend. A boy can be a girl can be a boy. Breast can be male. You can have male breast. Like, they have much more woke ideology. Anyways, I didn't look into any deeper because I'm not interested in this character at all. But I found it absurd that this man tried to correct or object in such an arrogant manner against Norm Finkelstein. Truly embarrassing. It's kind of like going against George St. Pierre, like you're a total beginner. You're like, man, you don't know how to punch. Don't you know that if you throw an uppercut like this, you'll knock a guy out? Don't you know anything about fighting? And George is like, St. Pierre's like, well, I have a few fights under my belt. Like, I've done this before. I've done this debate before. Norm Finkelstein's been he's been a voice about the Middle East for 40 years. One of the most respected voices. And some internet guy comes on, a gamer? Like, so ridiculous, man. Absolutely. But maybe to a layman's ears, he might not be able to tell the difference. But to a person who knows the Middle East, Destiny seemed and sounded like an absolute blubbering fool. Diddy Destiny. You have said the actual truth. That's from Maxi Dixie Normus. Well, thank you. Israel Lobby. The co-founder of Wikipedia says it's been ruined because now Wikipedia is used for propaganda. I don't know why you can't use any news source for propaganda. Coach, respect. My nervous system is always on fight or flight all day, every day, and my body is full of knots. How can I fix this? So trained. That's from Sparky Nopal. Guys, one day I'm going to do a video about breathing exercises. It's quite simple, but please do some research on breathing exercises. Breathing exercises, it's very important. It served me very well in life. Very, very well. It's an incredible way of calming the mind. I highly recommend you do some research on it. One day I'm going to formulate it so well, so simple. But most people out there don't know how to breathe properly, and they don't know how to control their breaths. It's a really good breathing program? Wim Hof. I don't think it's a complete breathing program. There are other types of breathing that I think that should be incorporated, but it's fantastic. Guys, I actually cover it in my book, Fasting for Fitness. I talk about intermittent fasting, how to do it for BJJ or combat sports, and in there I talk about breathing. So when I get really hungry, I do my breathing exercises. I go through it a little bit, but it's not a complete breathing exercise program. It's more about diet. But I highly recommend that book. It's a quick read. It's also on audiobook, guys. If you get it on Juji Club, it's also on audio. It's a quick 1 hour listen. You guys know me. I'm all about taking out the fluff. Every minute is a golden minute. It's full of gems. That's my promise to you on JujiClub.com. It's the best price with the best product. You'll never get a better value ever. And I have more surprises coming from JujiClub.com. JujiClub.com is going to get a lot better. hopefully very shortly. I think the 90s and early 2000s were the best. Social media made things worse. That's from Jonathan Coates. I think it made things worse in certain ways, but made things better in certain ways. It's a mixed bag like all technologies, but ultimately speaking, I think it's a force for good. Destiny the bisexual. That's from Hariton Ripata. He's bisexual? I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I don't know if you're trolling the guy or not, but I have no idea. But for me, if you let your wife sleep with other men, in my opinion, that's a failed marriage. There's no point in being married. That's an absurdity. What's the point of being married? It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. I think it's disgusting. I personally don't find it. I find it absurd. If one of my sons ever did that, I'd disown him. Honestly, I would disown him. I find it to be a complete absurdity. What's the point of being married? It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense. I think the guy died inside a long time ago. There's only one reason a man would let his woman sleep with another man. There's only one reason. He's dead inside. He's dead inside. I'm not ashamed to say it. That's a preposterous thing to say. Destiny's ancestors are rolling around in their grave, man. They're rolling around in their grave saying how disgusting they're like go back just like 100 years and tell people in America, hey, should you let your wife sleep with another man? You're going to get punched in the face. Just a question, just a thought would be insulting. Listen, guys like Destiny, they're trying to groom a young generation of men to allow foreigners to come travel here and party and sleep with their women. That's what it is. That's how I see it. I don't see any other advantage in society. Men from all around the world, they come to the West to party. Rich men all around the world, they come to the West to party, to sleep with women at random. They turned it into a brothel, the country into a brothel, and then they leave and they marry some girl in their village, in a little village in their town somewhere, and they settle down with a girl who's just theirs. So the men here, they just get destroyed because these girls now are sleeping around with so many men, so they don't have time for you. You get to marry them when they're 35. All their prime years, they're on a yacht somewhere, they're on a plane somewhere, they're traveling the world, and then they start getting older. Time is running out. Let me marry some guy. They're going to come and they're going to find you, and finally you're going to have a girl. But all her best years, all her most fun experiences are with some other guy across seas who could send her a text, who can come in town anytime and rekindle those memories, revisit those memories, and trigger her emotions, because back in the day he knew her, she knew him, she has fond memories of him. Women can be very attached, they bond at a young age with a guy, and then this guy's in the periphery, he's bored of his wife, he might come and visit. It's just ridiculous stuff, that the West has to suffer. It's ridiculous. The West has to wisen up, and I think they are. I think men are getting fed up. And you see these red pill movements. Not that I'm a fan of these red pill movements, okay? But there is some truth to what they're saying. They're not completely wrong. We can't say they're completely wrong. There's a lot of what they say is right. I think people take it to an extreme. I have a high respect for women. I have a high respect for married women, serious women. I have a high respect for them. Mothers are, in my opinion, the most important people in society. They do the most important job in society. The most important person in society, in my opinion, is the woman, is the mother. Specifically. But I think men like Destiny were groomed and are grooming a generation. It's just like a cultural thing. They're grooming another generation. I don't groom my children like this. No way. And you shouldn't either. I don't think you should either. It can't lead to happiness. This cannot lead to happiness. Oh, I have to think about wife. She's with 20 other men. What is insanity? Destiny. Mr. Borelli. This is a quote from Norm Finkelstein. My boy Chris F. He got it right. This is an exact quote. This was beautiful. Mr. Borelli, because I believe Destiny's name is Borelli. He's an Italian. I believe it's an Italian name. Mr. Borelli, such a fantastic imbecile. It's horrifying. Yes, that's right. That's what rings a bell. That's what he said. He's right. Finkelstein is right. Destiny should have went in much more humble, much more kind, much more respectful. Yeah, ask your questions. Look, I'm reading this. It doesn't make sense what you're saying. This contradicts it. Can you clarify? Not, you're completely wrong. You're biased. I remember him telling Finkelstein, you only like to stick to the facts, because Finkelstein's all about sticking to the facts. You only stick to the facts when it suits your narrative. Completely wrong. Completely wrong. It's absurd, man. Destiny doesn't know what he's talking about. He doesn't even know who Finkelstein is. I don't think he's aware who he's talking to. If he is, it's just that more embarrassing. Coach, what do you think about Hegel and his philosophy? He's very controversial. Either you think he's a revolutionary philosopher, or people think he's not that good as a philosopher. That's from Blade. No, guys, don't get me wrong. Okay, don't get anybody. Everybody respects Hegel. Everybody. There are criticisms of Hegel. Of course, every philosopher, every thinker, we all criticize each other. It's not a personal thing. The guy was a brilliant, brilliant thinker. He just said some things that were a bit crazy. But he said some incredibly profound things. Guys, I'm also doing a deep dive in Hegel right now. And Hegel is incredible. Like, I don't even want to start on Hegel now, because I'm an hour and 42 in, and I'll do an hour 42 on Hegel. One day I'm going to talk to you guys about Hegel, and I promise you, it's going to be something special. Hegel was a brilliant, brilliant man. One of the worst philosophers to read. His writing is horrifically bad. Like, very difficult to read. Like, you got to be a professional philosopher. You got to be a professional philosopher. This is no soft landing. You're in the weeds. You're in the weeds. You need to read commentary. You need to have other guys who studied him for 20 years explain to you what they think he means. And then you have to go check what if other scholars agree with him. Like, this is so deep in the weeds. But he did say some things that were kind of like crazy. Now, all philosophers say something crazy. All of them. Is it because they're crazy, or is it because they're thinking at such a high level? I said many things that people think are crazy, but I think it's common sense. It's just basics in philosophy. But people, to them, hearing it for the first time, think I'm insane. But this is well thought out stuff that's been cross-examined for thousands of years. It's not just something. I don't like to throw out theories that are new and then pass them off as classic. No. If it's new, I'll tell you. Look, guys, this is new. I'm not sure about this. I'm hoping to get cross-examined by somebody I really respect and know, somebody of notoriety, and maybe I'm missing something here. There's a lot of humility that's needed when you approach the truth. Okay, there's a lot of humility. You can never be so sure of yourself. You gotta be careful. There's very few things we're 100% sure of, guys. Very few things. And it depends how you know those things. That's a question for epistemology, how we know things, the science of knowing things. Now, there's a lot. A lot is not, it's an understatement. There's so much we're unsure of. Okay, now Hegel said something a little crazy. He said, look, man is eventually, ultimately, going to become, and he was a religious guy, okay? He's like basically saying, look, don't you notice man is slowly becoming closer and closer to being God? Like, think about it. We're getting more and more technologically superior. You have Google in your hand now. You have all the information to your hand. One day it's going to be in your head. They already started doing it. Tesla's, what's his name? Elon Musk is already putting the link thing in the guy's head. It's in the brain. They chipped it. One day, children are going to be born. They're going to put a computer in their head. They're going to have Google in their head. Everybody's going to be talking like a scholar. Everybody's going to have the most complicated philosophical thoughts are all going to be just basic to them. They're slowly going to integrate and realize, hey, we are the collective. Now, he's not the first philosopher to say this, but people, when they hear this part of Hegel, they freak out. They flip out. They start thinking, oh, this guy is like, he's a religious nut. Okay, now, his views are more complex than I laid out. He would tell you, look, we're a stratosphere of God. Like, what's inside you is just a little stratosphere, and the collective, we kind of mirror God. It's a complex view. I'm not going to go through it all tonight, but it's a complex view. But people, when they hear that, they kind of freak out. They kind of think, oh, this guy's a nut. But you got to ask yourself, why is he saying that? Now, I don't agree with him exactly like that. I think there is something very unique about us, within us. Okay, I don't think it's actually within, literally, but I like to point at it that way. Think about this, okay? Within every human being, there's a point of awareness. I can't put that in a test tube for you. I can't make a mathematical equation on the blackboard and prove it to you. I can't. The only way I can prove it to you is that you're experiencing it right now. As a matter of fact, it's undeniable, because if you even argued against it, you'd be acknowledging it. Your argument against it would be acknowledging it, because you'd have to be aware of my argument to argue against me. So you're having a point, you're experiencing that point of awareness. It's a self-defeating position to argue against me. Now, if I tell you, look, within you is a point of awareness. That point of awareness is not physical. It's not something I can put in a test tube. I cannot prove it to you scientifically whatsoever. There is no scientific experiment to prove it. There's no instrument that can measure it. Yet, you're absolutely certain of this point. Now, it's only known via direct experience. Now, it's very important. I'm not talking about the content of what's in your awareness, not the content of awareness, not what you're aware of, just the awareness itself. Now, philosophers, when we come to this point, we're like very puzzled. And from here, we take it in many directions. Hegel took it in this direction. I don't think his logic is perfectly sound. However, I think there's some truth to what he's saying, that there is something beyond the physical within us. And that is something it's kind of hard to explain. That is something that gives us certainty that, one, science is not absolute, mathematics is not absolute, logic is not absolute. There is something higher than logic. There is something higher than science. I talk about this quite a bit, actually. One day I will write books about this and give clear-cut examples. There is something higher than science. Science cannot be absolute. Mathematics cannot be absolute. Why? Because we have this something that we know that's outside of science. And this something doesn't corrode. Actually, if you really think about it, your body is in this point of awareness. Because you're aware of your body, it's actually, your body is in the awareness. It's not the awareness in your body. Everybody thinks the awareness is behind your eyeballs, between your ears. No, you're wrong. Because you're aware of your body. And then you start to realize that the whole world is in this awareness. That's where Hegel, I think, made a mistake, because he thought there was an awareness inside of you, an awareness inside of me, an awareness inside of the other guy. And collectively, we kind of mirror. But I think he was wrong. And a lot of philosophers thought he was wrong. They cross-examined later on. They're saying, no, actually, that awareness is not inside of us. We're inside of it. Because you're aware of your body. You're aware of the stars and the sky and the moon and the earth and the desk and the TV and the computer. But yet that's all in that awareness. And then, of course, they springboard from there, which is another complicated topic. But I think Hegel, ultimately, he was an idealist. So to him, everything's mind and ideas. However, I think he spun it in a way that was a presupposition. And again, I have to review his work. I have to, talk to other philosophers that kind of, can cross-examine what I'm saying right now, because I'm not totally sold on if I totally understand what he means. But I feel like a lot of people rejected his certain ideas he had about God. Hegel influenced by Ibn Arabi? ? That's from Sir. Yes, all the European philosophers were influenced by Arab philosophers, Muslim philosophers, all of them. The Greeks influenced the Muslims influenced the Europeans. There's no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. If you study philosophy, there is no doubt about it. Who was before the Greeks? I speculate it was the Egyptians. I speculate it was the Sumerians. I speculate other civilizations, but we don't have material evidence. We have some material evidence. We don't have an abundance of it. We have an abundance that the Greeks were great philosophers. Yes, we have an abundance. But we actually do have material evidence that the Greeks were inspired by the Egyptians. And it stands to reason. One civilization rises, other civilizations kind of admire them. When they crumble, they take their technology, they take from their influence, and they roll with it. And then they become a great great empire. And the cycle continues. There is no doubt in my mind that the Europeans, there is no doubt in my mind they studied Muslim philosophy. We have Latin works. We have Arabic works that are converted to Latin. We have that. I mean, it's just undeniable. For us, how do you manage to pray 5 times a day with the amount of training that you do? That's from Dana. Dana, if you travel, you got to talk to a mufti. Okay, I'm not a mufti, but if you travel, you commute, you can do jamaat. Some muftis will tell you yes. Talk to a mufti, ask him if it makes sense in your schedule, and get approval from him. I can't do that for you, but you can do jamaat. It's not supposed to interrupt your day, your work. Okay, I do that for work. I do it for a living. This is my career. You can do jamaat, and it's really simple. If you do jamaat, it's really, really simple. Like there are exceptions. You have to talk to a mufti. You know, like I don't know why people just don't reach out to a mufti. They're online. I mean, they're really easy to get a hold of. Yeah, Greeks were influenced by figures such as Pythagoras. That's from Cyrd. Pythagoras was a Greek. Coach, what do you think about the fact that men must have some type of military training, combat, shooting, defense? Because men are mostly about making money. That's from Lamin Tour. I think it's good because you never know when you're going to be called to arms. I think it's very good for character. I think everybody should do some combat sports, some military training. I think it breeds a mentality of hierarchy and understanding your place in the world, how to work as a unit. Because you get a lot of these young kids, they get soft degrees and they think they understand the world. They don't understand the world. That's the thing. It's quite like, look at Destiny, okay? Look at Destiny is such a great example. The guy, he's a smart guy. I don't think he's ever done any combat training. I don't think he's ever been in the military. I don't think he's ever made a fist. And he sees people killing each other on the internet, you know, he sees a war and he's like, oh yeah, you know, it's all good because, you know, here are the reasons why. He's doing all the math in his head. He thinks that the world works the way he has it in his head. Now imagine as a thought experiment, he had to go to one of these wars. Let me tell you what would happen, okay? He had to gear up. He had to put on an M16. He had to march. We're running out of soldiers and the battlefield is bloody and deadly. Let me tell you what Destiny would do. Destiny would defecate himself. I'm not joking. I'm being totally serious, guys. I'm not trying to insult the man. I'm trying to tell you what would really happen to this man physically. He would urinate on himself. His hands would shake. He wouldn't be able to aim the gun. He would be balled up in the foxhole. He'd be paralyzed with fear. Paralyzed with fear. If I'm wrong, I dare Destiny. I dare you to just do a face-to-face with me. I'll fly Destiny to Montreal. And all I'm asking Destiny to do is stand next to me, 1 inch away from me. Look me in the eye. I'll fly him down. I'll do a podcast with him. I'll sit and talk with him. And all I'm asking him to do, show me you have the guts to step in the octagon and just do a face-off. I guarantee you he would never do it. All expense paid trip. Because he would urinate himself. Why? Because he's a gamer. He's sitting behind his desk and he's pushing these buttons and he's playing games and he's getting paid a lot of money and people like to hear him talk. So he plays the game and he's talking and he's talking and he's talking and he's never seen violence. I've seen a ton of violence. Okay, MMA leaves you with PTSD. It does. Okay, like I've seen bodies drop. I've seen guys get hurt. I've seen like the dark side of MMA. Okay, there's when you see those guys get knocked out on TV, there's a dark side later. They have to rebuild themselves. It's very psychologically tough MMA. And I'm not comparing that with war. War is 1,000 times worse because these guys are actually killing themselves, killing people. They're actually dying. You know, you have horror stories of people like his best bud got his arm blown off, his head blown off, his leg like it's madness. I don't wish war on anybody. I'm just telling you, like, MMA is so hard to deal with. Like, you know, like your money's on the line, you know, like there's so much pressure. Like some of these things can go wrong and you prep for so long to have this one moment, it's 15 minutes, all of it's riding on this. It's so much mental pressure for these young guys. And there's a lot of like brutal training. It's so crazy. Still nothing compared to war. War must be, I've never been to war. I'm grateful for that. But I'm just saying, like, I can't imagine how bad that is. Like, they're not, you had a bad day. It's not, oh, I lost money. No, you lost your life. You lost your best friend. You lost function of your right arm. Like, it's, you saw things that you'll never be normal again. You come back home and your wife thinks you're crazy. You have PTSD. She's leaving you. Your kids don't want to see you. They all think you're a psycho. You're a drunkard on the street. You're trying to self-medicate. The system doesn't have anywhere for you. You're living on the street. Like, some of these soldiers, a lot of these soldiers, sadly, they come back. They can't function in society. It is a major problem, by the way, guys. Major problem. I remember a statistic being brought to my attention that I was shocked at. That the Americans, when they went to war in the Middle East, 9,000 soldiers commit suicide a month. I couldn't believe it. Nearly 100,000 soldiers. I can't remember the exact statistics. This was a few years ago. I had one guy who was a Navy SEAL was talking to me about it, and I couldn't believe what an astronomical number of people. Like, how can they not, like, treat them? They're like, you don't understand. They come back, they're far beyond. They've seen so many atrocities. They committed atrocities. All that stuff plays in their mind. They saw such inhumanity. They take their own lives. War is hell. And you got Destiny saying, well, of course you're going to kill them all because they're embedded in the society and they're embedded behind, they're sitting behind civilians and they're there and you gotta kill them and you gotta get rid of them. Doesn't know anything about war. That's what's wrong in this world. People now, today, they have a podcast and they want to talk over the scholar. They want to talk over the subject matter experts. The subject matter experts are trying to tell mankind, look, this is madness. We got to stop. We got to stop and think and reason our way out of this. Man always did well when he reasoned. Then you have a YouTuber who thinks he's as important as that voice. It's arrogance, narcissism. I'm telling you guys, if you look at the statistics of narcissism, ever since one of the plagues on this world that social media has brought to us is narcissism. Narcissism has exploded. And psychologists tell us now, not me, guys, it's not my personal opinion. Psychologists are telling us, look, we have an explosion of narcissism in society. Why? People are all day now, me. My profile is me. And I have this best life ever. Look how beautiful I am. Look how my nose is so perfect. Look what I ate today. Look at this little thing my ear does. Let me get the video about my ear. Like, we're so obsessed with ourselves. We're so obsessed. We've become maniacal about ourselves. And little guys who are getting so much attention, pushing buttons on the internet. Oh, look, me. This little guy who never, he lets men sleep with his woman. Why? Because he can't defend his woman. His woman doesn't respect him. Let me tell you something, guys. If your woman loves and respects you, she won't even think about another guy. She won't even think. She won't even look at another guy. She admires her man. She loves her man. She respects her man. That man is everything she wants and needs. She doesn't even think. I know in the West it sounds like a crazy idea, but believe me, many cultures around the world, that's how they operate. I know it sounds crazy. I'm telling you, it's going to make its way back in the West because Western man's going to get so sick. He's going to get so sick of the Tinder life. He's going to get so sick. He's going to realize, hey, it's far more beneficial for the women. It's so bad for me. And these foreign guys with money are coming in here and they're using that leverage against us. They're grooming us to accept this. One day, somebody out there, maybe it's Andrew Tate, maybe it's not, he's going to wake up the world. Like, he's going to wake up mankind. Like, men are just getting completely taken advantage of, in my opinion. And I'm willing to have a dialogue with anybody about this. I think men are being absolutely taken advantage of. That's my opinion. Now, a guy like Destiny, I don't know if he has a degree or not. He's never been, if he was trained in the military, at least he would know, look, it's really scary. You know, we do like, simulations, and I would have been dead. I would have got my leg blown out. I would have been dead. Now, he would think maybe, it's tough to pick up a gun and shoot somebody, and the military training would humble him. It would humble him. He'd realize, look, I'm one of the worst soldiers here. I'm one of the weakest, most useless human beings here. What can I contribute to humanity? Let me make it up. Let me make my poor, pathetic excuse of contribution to the defense of my country. Let me make it up somehow. But at least he would have had a taste of reality. Because people, when you do jiu-jitsu, when you do combat sports, you get a taste of reality. oh, I'm so tough, I'm so this. You get in the ring, you get your ass kicked, man. You better back up every word you say. You better back up every word you say, because these are real punches. These are real kicks to the head. These are real knees to the face. These are real chokes. This is real. You're not sitting behind your little button pushing thing and you die and you get another life and there's no pain involved here. There's no suffering. You just try again and you just, yeah, okay, you're very special. You're good with your thumbs. I'll give him that. You're good with your thumbs. But you know nothing about real life. You know nothing about pain and suffering. You know nothing about misery. Nothing. You live a privileged life with lots of money, lots of fame, and you're honestly a sorry excuse for a human being. Sorry excuse for a human being. You know why I'll say that? Because he called for genocide. He called for the murder of innocent people. He was trying to justify the death of innocent civilians. How could a lefty justify colonialism? Somebody square that circle for me. It doesn't make sense. Lefties are usually anti-colonialists. I would love to hear his argument for that. How could he justify the annexation of Palestinian land, the invasion of Palestinian land? How could he in any way? Is he going to appeal to the Bible? Because lefties are usually atheists. Is he going to say, well, they have a right because, you know, in the Bible it said, wait a second. That's religion. You're going to tell me there's no, like, you're going to justify okay, I believe in religion. I believe Jews should be in Israel. I believe that. Muslims always brought Jews to Israel. It's a fact. Muslims always, when the Romans kicked out the Jews, for 500 years they were expelled. 500 years. The Jews would come back once a year. The Romans would allow them to come back once a year to visit Jerusalem. There was very few Jews throughout the year. Very, very few Jews were tolerated throughout the year. The Romans expelled them in the year 70. They burned down their temple, expelled them. They allowed them to come back in small numbers once a year. It was kind of a humiliation for the Jews because, you know, they were controlled. That's their homeland, this and that. Who brought them back? When the Muslims conquered Jerusalem, then the Jews came back. Why? The Jews brought them back because we believe that they should belong there. It's part of our religion as well that the Jews should be in Jerusalem. I'm not saying they should be in power. They should rule over us. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that they should come and dissolve our government and put their government. No. I'm not justifying that. I'm just saying Jewish presence is welcome in the Islamic world. Welcomed always. Not Zionism. Let's not confuse Judaism and Zionism, even though some people try to say it's the same thing. You can have that opinion, but I can also equally have the opinion that it's not the same thing. I can differentiate between the two. Guys, I have a super chat. Hopefully it's among the same topic. Eid Mubarak, Coach. Thank you for motivating and opening my mind to certain topics. That's from Detroit Viper. Detroit Viper, my boy. Thank you very much. And Eid Mubarak to you. كل عام وانتم بخير. In one of his clips, Destiny stated that genocide in Gaza might be necessary for a more Western-leaning power, liberal-minded in Middle East. That's from Ojo and Gono. I heard he said something like that. So he basically he wants us to become free thinkers by killing us. Oh, you're not free thinker like me. You don't accept my bisexual, let your woman sleep with other men lifestyle. Well, maybe it would be better if we killed you all. That's insane. That's psychopathic. That's not live and let live. That's where's your everybody let live and let live type attitude where, if you're not harming me, because here's the thing, there's a myth in it. There's a myth that in the Muslim world they kill gays. It's not true. ISIS, I think ISIS threw gays off the building. And I'm not laughing at that. I just think that's preposterous that you label that to the entire Muslim world. Okay. Now, in Islam, yes, man on man sex is haram, forbidden. Absolutely. I'm not denying that. I'm actually straight up telling you to your face. I'm happy to say it. Okay. It's 100% agreed upon. It is forbidden. So is it in Christianity. So is it in the Torah. Okay. The Jewish Bible. The Jews, the Christians, the Muslims, don't let anybody tell you otherwise. For us, it is forbidden. Homosexuality is forbidden. Okay. Now, we have to differentiate by two things. Okay. If you're gay in a Muslim world and you live with another man and you're not, I gotta be honest with you, you can't be openly. You can't be like, hey, you can't advertise it. You can't go and organize a parade. No, it's not gonna happen. They're not going to allow you that. But if you keep it to yourself, nobody's going to bother you. Nobody's going to go in your bedroom and spy, is what I'm trying to tell you. In Islamic world, there are people who are homosexual. They're not getting thrown off buildings. They're not getting arrested. Nobody's investigating them. Nobody's hunting. There's no witch hunt. However, they're not allowed to, they're limited in terms of expressing themselves, asking for marriage. Because as for us, marriage, it's for keeping track of whose child is who. Okay? Pragmatically, that's what it's for. If you think about it, as a philosopher, I have to tell you, why would we want to know which couple is spoken for? Well, because we got to know who's the father. I don't want to get into the whole spiel, but a lot of women around the world, they don't get married, they have kids, and they can't tell you who the father is. It becomes a taxpayer burden. The whole nation now has to chip in to pay for those children. It's $1 billion industry in Canada alone. In Canada, we spend billions in taxes on single mothers. It's a fact. It's not a criticism. It's not an attack. I'm happy to spend money to help children, get what they need. But I think it should be garnished from the father's salary. That's what's fair. Of course, the child should be supplied. Of course, no doubt about it. Every child should have every amenity that they need to go to school, to eat, etc. Of course, we should take care of the children. However, we should garnish the wager of the father. But if the woman can't tell you who the father is, it goes on the burden of the taxpayer. Now, why else would you need marriage? Pragmatically speaking, there's no other need. Okay, so in Muslim countries, in Christian countries for a very, very long time, if you kept quiet, nobody would bother you. Now, in the West, you want to be outwardly gay and you want to show the world. That's fine. It's legal in the West. It's not legal in other countries. Now, I'm of the opinion that we have the right to live the way we want to live. You have the right to live the way you want to live. Don't impose your ways on us. We won't impose our ways on you. And we have to have a mutual respect. Nobody's being persecuted. You have to understand, the idea is not to groom the children. You want your children to grow in the most natural way for them to have a family. Because for us, the greatest good is morality, God, religion. Because morality and religion go together, hand in hand. Because ultimately speaking, in our worldview, in the Islamic worldview, the Christian worldview, the Jewish worldview, if you don't believe in God, ultimately speaking, you can never truly be a moral society. And I don't want to switch topic now, but ultimately speaking, why? Because people are going to start to think, hey, why should I be good? When nobody's looking, why shouldn't I take a little more? There's no hell, there's no heaven, there's no ramification. I'll tell people I'm nice. I'll tell people I don't want human suffering, but really, inside, really, is it going to hurt anybody if I take a little more for myself? Guys, this is another topic. One day we'll get into it. We've talked about it in the past. We'll talk about it in the future again, but I cannot go on a tangent now. But you guys get what I'm saying. An atheist can be a moral person, yes. But at his core, he can defect. He can flip. I was watching one time a Sopranos video show, and they killed a guy in an alley, and a waiter, like some guy, random waiter, was throwing something out. He saw it, a witness, and one of the hitmen turns around, shoots him. The guy's kind of like dying, and then he puts a bullet behind the head, and it's like he just kills him because he's a witness. He just killed that guy, and he goes about his day like nothing else. And the guy actually doesn't play an atheist, but just how could people do that? You think about it. If you could just kill a human being like you would kill, I don't know, you'd step on an ant. You don't really believe in morality. You don't believe there's a hell. You don't believe there's a heaven. You don't believe there's really anything wrong with it as long as nobody was looking and I don't get caught. At the core, this can surface. Because without God, there's no such thing as morality, guys. I don't want to get into a spiel about this, but trust me, we all agree. All philosophers, 99% of us agree on this. If there is no God, there's no morality. Everything is permissible. Okay, now a lot of atheists are lefties, so they think everything is permissible. I should be able to express myself as I wish. Okay, that's your business. That's your way of life. Live your way of life. We have no problem with that. But don't impose your way of life on us. We have a morality. We have a book we follow. And for us, it's not my personal happiness that's the most important. For us, it's God, morality. Then it's the family. Okay, so for us, that your lifestyle is a threat to our family. You prioritize your way of life as you see fit. We prioritize our way of life, and we think our formula is better for happiness. You think your formula is better for happiness. I'm telling you, live your formula. That's between you. and God. You don't believe in God? That's between you and God. It's not my business. You heard about God. We told you about it. You to reject it. That's your business. That's your business. Me, I'm formulating my life in this way. God, morality, family, second. That's going to bring me happiness. You think, no need for God. I'm going to minimize human suffering. I believe in these principles. That's where I get my morality from. And also, I will tell you that I'm me first. I want to sleep with other women. My wife wants to sleep with other men. I think that makes me happy. It makes her happy. Yeah, family's an afterthought. We don't care about family. Obviously, they're not going to have kids, these two. I heard they're divorced, etc. Okay, family's not important for us. That's going to bring me happiness. This way of life. I think he's going to build his own hell. I think he's going to dig his own hell. I think he's going to create himself a pit. I think he secretly agonizes about his wife sleeping with other men. I think he's secretly tortured. I think he's secretly humiliated. I think he looks at himself in the mirror and thinks he's the biggest loser in the world, even though he has a big Twitch channel and he's super popular and he maybe makes millions of dollars. I don't know if he does. I have no idea. Even all that, man. He looks at himself in the eye when he shaves and he tells himself, I'm a total loser. That's what I think he feels inside. In his heart of hearts, he's empty. He's a secret nihilist. He believes that his life has no meaning, and when he dies, nobody's going to care, and he's completely useless. He's left no progeny. He has no meaning to his life. He has not self-transcended. There's nothing more important. He didn't find what's important in life. I think in his heart of hearts, he's a total loser. A total loser. But again, that's just my opinion of the guy. Make of it what you will. Whoa. Haytham, I'll take that in suggestion. Eid Mubarak, coach. Been grappling and competing for 10 years, and your instructionals have upped my game and bolstered my solid foundation of technique. Thank you, Zach. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Thank you, gentlemen. I love hearing that. I never cease to be happy to make a new video to help you guys. I love hearing that you guys enjoy the videos. Please feel free to go to jujiclub.com, pick a product that you bought, scroll down and leave a review. Please, guys, leave a review. It helps, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Will Islam knock out John Jones? Of course not. They're totally different weight classes. Racist is forbidden in Islam, so Islamic racially slur is impossible. That's from Ojo. Guys, who are the first anti-racist in history? Islam, Muslims, Muhammad alayhi salam. The first people, the first nation to make it a creed that no black man is superior to a white man, no white man is superior to a black man, no Arab man, no every rich way you want to put it. We have no superiority over another, only we have superiority in piety. Who's more moral? That's for God to judge, not for us. Compete in being the most moral. That's why I tell you guys, how can some people defend Hamas? How could you say the Jews and Muslims, we're supposed to teach people how to be moral? You know, when they say the Jews are the chosen people. Have you read the Torah? Chosen for what? They're supposed to be a nation of priests. They're supposed to bring a light to the world, a moral light. When you look at Israel today, do you say, oh, these are the most moral people? Even though they call themselves the most moral army, we scoff. No nation has had more UN resolutions against it than Israel. None. And they always get saved by Germany because they have guilt because of World War II, and by US because they just use Israel as a military state to keep oil cheap. That's my opinion. That's just my opinion. I can't, tell you that's a fact, but that's my opinion. Does Hamas and the Israeli government hit you as the most moral governments? No, I don't think so. I don't agree. Yes, the Jews are the chosen people, not chosen to be our masters and subjugate us. No, that's not what they're chosen for. If you read the Torah, they're supposed to be a nation of priests. They're supposed to bring morality to the world. They're supposed to teach us, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, etc., etc. Thou shalt only worship one God. The Muslims, you have the same mission. You're supposed to teach the world about justice, fairness. We have to be just. We have to be fair. That's what I mean when I look at a situation, I always try to be fair, even if I have to speak against Muslims. Even if I have to speak against Muslims. Yes, Hamas are Muslims, and I don't agree. If they only killed combatants, I would have praised them. But the fact that I have video evidence that they killed and they kidnapped innocent people, certain people can be taken for ransom. If they're soldiers, they're combatants. Not a child that turned 1 year old in captivity. There's a child in Hamas's custody. From what I understand, I could be wrong. But he was captured and he turned 1 year old in captivity. What are they waiting for? Get the UN, hand them over to the UN, get that child to safety. He has no business in this war. He's completely innocent. He cannot be used as a pawn in this war. Now, yes, Hamas has committed atrocities, but I'm telling you guys, I followed this story for years. Since I'm a kid, I'm hearing about Palestine and Israel. Israel has tortured the Palestinians to the point where it's understandable that they've lost their mind. We all would have lost our mind. You know how many children have been imprisoned by Israel and tortured? Imagine the stories that come out of what happens. The Israelis, one of their projects was to take young Israeli children, torture them so badly that they're so scared that when they become adults, they'll never fight Israel. They have stories of, there's countless stories. There's documentaries on this, by the way, guys. Guys, oh my God, I can't believe this, man. There's just so much horror. There's scholarly articles published on Google about PTSD in children. All the subjects are Palestinian children, all of them. Why? Because they're the most controlled and traumatized group in the world. They're the most controlled and they're the most traumatized. Palestinians suffer. This is before October 7th, by the way. Now it's even worse. Now forget about it. I don't know. I think they've created more Hamas than ever. There is so much PTSD in Palestine. It's scary. That all the studies are done in Palestine. They want to know what's PTSD? How does it harm children? Look it up. Call me a liar. Look it up. There are scholarly articles on the damage Israel has done to children. Children are taken by military police and trialed in military court with a prosecution rate of 99.9%. Imagine if the US, was arresting black people and 99.9% of them were found guilty. Wouldn't you tell yourself, wow, how can it be, man? How can it be that all of them are guilty? They're always all wrong. Every time we grab one, he's guilty. And when they take a white person, they put him in juvenile court, a white child. But if it's a black child, he goes to military court. And that child is going to be convicted at a 99% conviction rate. Imagine you send your kid to school and then you hear that he was taken by the military police. What would you do? You're not going to see your kid for 6 months, 1 year, and when you get him back, he was tortured, he was starved, he was threatened. They use dogs, they do vicious things. They put hot dogs on the kid's body, on his head, on his genitalia, and the dog eats the hot dog, and the kid's genitalia could get ripped off, and he's scared, petrified that it's going to be his genitalia. They torture them. There's all sorts of horror stories that come out. They burn them, they beat them. For sure, these kids are going to come back, tell their story, and men like me, we're going to get furious. Everybody would get furious. Anybody whose child is going to be harmed is going to be furious. Look at the rampage Israel's going on right now. They have bloodlust. You know, the polling in Israel is very scary. People think that Netanyahu's not vicious enough. They think he's not aggressive enough. They think there's not enough blood. The whole world is saying, stop, stop, stop. The whole world. And they're saying, no, it's not enough. They have a bloodlust. When you get wronged, when you get tortured, when you get painted in the corner, when you get subjugated, you want to fight back. Rebellions they're nothing new. Okay, guys, we're 2 hours and 20 minutes in. I got to wrap this up. Let's end up on a positive note. Just train and be happy. All that politics is whack. That's from Agartha. Agartha, that's really a ridiculous thing to say. Okay, you got to get into politics. If you don't get into politics, like Plato said, you're going to be ruled by men your entire life. You guys got to wake up. Politics are important. I know I'm not a big fan of politics. I don't like to get into it, but you got to. When you see atrocities like this, it's not going to be boring when people are putting bullets in your loved ones. Then you're going to be like, hey, where are all the people, where are the people getting angry at this? I'm being shot at. I'm being killed. I'm being starved. Oh, yeah, they're too busy on the internet. They're playing video games. They're finding leisure time. They're not even, people suffering on the other side of the world. I don't have time for that. What's on the internet? What latest sitcom is there? What other cool things, wacky video on YouTube for me to watch? It's disgusting, okay? Like, you got to take yourself a long look in the mirror. It's disgusting. What you just said is disgusting, okay? Like, I hope you have an older brother or something that's going to slap you for that. Like, he's going to set you straight. It's disgusting. Agartha, honestly, I hope your name is Agartha 42. I hope you're not 42, okay? Because I'm sure it's not 42, your age, because it's a disgusting thing to say. Favorite QL exercise. What's a QL exercise? QL stretch. What's this? Quadratus lumbaris exercise. Oh. Stability ball. Actually, I call it. I do a. I don't know if you ever heard the. It's called dog bird. It's called exercise dog bird. It was coined by Stuart McGill. I do a hybrid of that, but on the stability ball. It's an excellent exercise for the QL. Okay, I don't call it QL. I consider it working the core. Okay, I don't go specific in every muscle, but check out Strong and Stable Back, guys. Get that video. Strong and Stable Back is one of the most important videos you'll ever get. 80% of people get back pain in their life. Learn how to be back pain free. Learn how to train for the rest of your life. Guys, I'm 44 years old. I train twice a day. I roll almost every single day, twice a day. I train, I lift weights, I do boxing, I do MMA, and I'm injury free. I got guys who train 4 or 5 years and they're in a wheelchair. They can't function. It's like, that's all preventable. It's all preventable. But you got to have the knowledge to do it. Check out the program. The Strong and Stable program is incredible. I highly recommend it. Make sure to use promo code level up 50 off. Check out the promo code. It's on your screen. Guys, make sure to check out jiu-jitsu-club.com. Punch in that promo code. Get 50% off absolutely anything. Guys, it was a blast. I always love hanging out with you guys. Eid Mubarak to you all, and I hope to see you all in the next episode. Thank you.